Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Well, college basketball is over. UConn, the champs. The Huskies get it done in rather predictable fashion. I just thought they're just grinding that out. I didn't think Purdue gagged or Purdue wasn't up to the moment or I just think Purdue wasn't good enough. UConn's defense, they gave up 60 points, so it's not like they were perfect, right? You can't shut somebody out in basketball. Some possessions you get beat. But I just didn't think that there were very many possessions where Purdue just got something easy. And what there really weren't were 2 or 3 possessions in a row. Come down, hit an open three, get a bucket in transition. It was just a grind to score. It was just so hard. Connecticut just slowly, continuously pulled away. And it just, at halftime I thought it was UConn's game. With 10 minutes left, I thought it was UConn's game. It was just never a time where it looked like UConn was in trouble. So back-to-back titles for UConn, 6 titles in 26 years. They're now tied for the third most NCAA men's basketball titles with North Carolina. Who are the Blue Bloods, right? UCLA has the most titles, 11, but they haven't won one in almost 30 years now. They haven't been to a final in almost, not quite 20, I think it's like 17 years or something like that. So the Blue Blood, but it's old school, it's not recent. Kentucky second, North Carolina third, and then Duke on 5 titles, Indiana on 5. But Indiana, that's another school. They haven't won one in 40 years. So UConn's it. UConn is the it school in basketball. Maybe Kentucky could get it back, or maybe North Carolina or Duke. But everybody's changing coaches. It's a new era with the transfer portal and the NIL, and not every coach wants to deal with it. And some of the coaches retired. We're at retirement age anyway, and that was about when they were going to go out, regardless of whether the rules changed or not. But it just seems like for the Blue Bloods, they got to find somebody who does it a new way. And maybe they will. They've got the money. They got the tradition. They got the fan base that demands winning. That'll push the administration. So it's not like North Carolina and Duke and Kentucky can't get back there. But, man, UConn's got it rolling. 6 championships in 26 years. That is pretty impressive stuff right there. But three-peats are borderline impossible. There have been, several schools that have gone back-to-back. UCLA won the 7 in a row, but 3 in a row? Going to be a tough ask. But in the portal era, you can reload, so we'll see. It's also Masters Week coming up. We're going to talk with Brian Taylor this morning. He's going to join us at 8 o'clock. He and Bob Casper will alternate throughout the week. Real Golf Radio is there as always. We're going to have that for you. And, man, we always wanted the NBA to tighten up the schedule so we didn't have a lot of regular season basketball. We just want to get right into the playoffs coming out of the NCAA championship. And, we pretty much are now. It's like the NCAA ends tonight, the NBA's done in 6 days, and the Masters plays for 4 of those 6. And then we're into the play-in tournament. So here we go. We just go right from one big event to another. Masters this week and then into the NBA playoffs. Hey, we got one other thing to share with you. And that is that our talkback feature on the app has returned. So if you want to record up to 60 seconds, I would keep it short. The shorter you keep it, the more likely Yak is to play it. Yak's the one who's going to hear them and decide what's worthy. But if you want to weigh in on any of the topics we're talking about, any of the topics are up on our Facebook page, DJ and PK. I know we've got over 50 responses, and probably have more than that, but we've got at least 50 responses. What should the nickname for the new NHL team be? If Ryan Smith brings the NHL to town, what should the name be? People are always willing. Some are serious. Some people are being ridiculous. Some people are being funny. You can do whatever you want. But go to our app and use the talkback feature, and we'll add your voice to hot takes or toast if you have a good, concise take. So just want to let you know that's out there. All right, DJ and PK proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. Coming up next, we're talking with Bob Harig. He's got a book out on Tiger Woods. He wrote a book on Tiger and Phil. Now he's got another one on Tiger. And we will talk with him about Tiger Woods and about the Masters next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer, longtime writer for ESPN and the Tampa Bay Times as well. He's covered Tiger Woods since the beginning of his pro career, And he's got a book out. I'm actually a second book out on him, and he joins us now. Bob, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So Drive is tied into the 5-year anniversary of Tiger's 2019 Masters victory. I'm curious, for a guy who has lived his life in the spotlight, in the golf spotlight since he was a teenager, how much more is there to know about him, especially considering he does try to keep as low a profile as possible and say as little as possible at times? Is he at a point in his life where he feels a little more expansive? Is this nuggets that have been observed along the way and maybe we just haven't seen them all? What was your approach going into this book?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the challenge. I mean, Tiger is not a forthcoming guy. He wasn't adversarial, but he did not cooperate, and he didn't with the first book I did. It's mostly reporting from being there, talking to others who have been around him, obviously all the people that he's played against, his coaches, his caddies, and the book is tied to the 5-year anniversary of the Masters win, 2019, which was incredible, but that victory also kind of was a highlight of it. It was an example of frankly, the book's title, Drive. He's had this amazing resiliency that other players, other people we just don't have. We don't have that kind of fight due to human nature. And Tiger has shown that numerous times throughout his career. And I sort of try to make the argument that he wouldn't have the record he has without it. I mean, certainly his skill, his ability, his talent was going to take him a long way, but it wasn't going to take him all the way. And, Tiger fighting back after back surgery, Tiger, frankly, numerous occasions of 142 straight cuts, winning the Masters after shooting 40 for his first 9 holes. I sort of recount all these examples in his career of his amazing resiliency, his amazing never quit attitude.
Is it true? Did I read that he shot a 31 in secrecy at the Masters the other day?
If he did, I have not heard that. He was here. I'm in Augusta now. He was here on March 30th. To play a practice round. It was the first time he had come up this spring. He played with Fred Ridley, the chairman of the club, and Justin Thomas, and I think that was more just get familiar with the course again round. I've at times Tiger has played incredibly well in those tournaments, which is impressive. But I did not hear a score. We'll get to ask him tomorrow. He's on the course now, practicing today. He came up yesterday and just walked around the course and with a putter and a couple of wedges, and just didn't even hit full shots. Just worked on his short game around the course.
Given all he's been through and all the surgeries he's had, what percentage of he is he now of what he was? How good could he possibly be?
It's probably a fraction of what he was before. Unfortunately, I mean, he's still got back problems, which are ongoing, on and off. Certainly for a golfer who's 48 years old. And then there's the lower right leg. He about a year ago, not long after the Masters, he had a fusion surgery on his right ankle. So basically, that solidified it. That was meant to sort of, I guess, sort of like the fusion in the back. It was like to make it more solid, but it obviously took away a ton of flexibility. And so, he can walk a lot better. But he's certainly not got the mobility that he had before that allows him to push off on that ankle. I happen to think it's why Tiger, if you look, he's pretty bulked up. I think he feels he needs to use his upper body to get the ball out there, and he still can. He was at Riviera earlier this year. He didn't stay long because he got sick. He had the flu. But Tiger was pounding the ball out there. There was no problem with that. It's just the whole issue of, can he get to the ball? Can he walk properly? And obviously a golf course like Augusta is incredibly hilly and challenging, and it's not exactly the easiest place for a guy like Tiger to play golf at this moment.
Using Scheffler as the reason I'm asking this question, how much can the greens at Augusta get into your head?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that's kind of Scotty Scheffler's issue these days. The greens are they're a challenge. They certainly they're very, very fast. There's a lot of undulation, a lot of hills, and you have to learn them to be able to read them. Most players will say they don't see the breaks in these putts that are there, and it takes a lot of knowledge. You have to have sort of been around for a while. So if you've got any kind of demons in your head over putting, it's not the greatest place to come, because you can get a little squeamish, and that's where Scheffler's shown some vulnerability. Now, in the last month or so, obviously he's putted a lot better. He won 2 tournaments. He had a great chance to win in Houston and had about an 8 or 9 footer on the last hole to tie and missed it. So his putting, if Scheffler's putting is just average, he'll be in contention. His putting has been way below average, and he's still been in contention a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles the greens. He hits a lot of greens, which is always a big stat at the Masters. Usually the guy who wins is top 2 or 3 in greens in regulation. That's not always the case at other tournaments, but it usually is at the Masters.
Do you think the LIV guys are being tested and pushed enough with how they play when they come to somewhere like Augusta to handle it and to win? Or do you think the odds are heavily stacked now in favor of the guys who are on the PGA Tour?
I mean, that was a big question going into the Masters last year. They had only played 3 tournaments going into the Masters. Most guys are going to play 4, 5, or 6 at least before the Masters rolls around from the start of the year. But, look at what happened. Rahm wasn't with LIV then, but Koepka and Mickelson were tied for second, and Patrick Reed was tied for 4th. So I don't think the layoff or the lack of golf hurt them that much. This year they've all played 5 times, 5 LIV events. They just played last week in Miami at Doral on a tough course. It's hard to say. Brooks Koepka shot 77-77 over the weekend at Doral. I kind of like him this week, but I don't know what that means. Like, is something off? Or I actually was down there for a few days, and I watched him a little bit, and I thought he looked good. So I don't know if something came up or what, but I think that last year sort of put that aside. These guys are pro golfers. They know how to prepare. There's other ways to get ready. If they'd have played only 1 or 2 tournaments, that would be a problem. But they've all played enough, I think, to come here ready to go. And then it's just a matter of, are they playing well enough? Is their game strong enough?
I don't think, obviously, that it applies in this situation at this week, and there'll be 3 other majors to go after this week. But we've heard some talk about declining interest in the game of golf because of the 2 factions. How much do you buy it?
I do buy it. I think there's a fatigue about talking about this issue, about money. The whole money issue has turned people off. I understand why we're at this point. The stars of the game for long before LIV sort of were advocating for, why are you not taking care of the stars? And, it is a sport where, as much money as Tiger has made, you could argue that he's been underpaid from the tournament winnings perspective, because if you don't perform, you don't get paid. If Steph Curry goes 0 for 12, he still gets paid. But in golf, it doesn't work that way. And yet Tiger might have sold all the tickets, but if he misses the cut, he gets 0. And there had been this shift. But now I think what's happened is it's probably gone too far. And, obviously what the LIV guys are getting is frankly, it's obscene, the amount of money some of them are making. And now the tour has funneled all this money to their players to sort of try to make up for it. I think people are tired of hearing about it. Another factor, though, that's maybe hurt is the stars on the PGA Tour this year have not stepped up. You know, Scheffler's just recently has won. Wyndham Clark won at Pebble Beach, but that tournament didn't even play on Sunday. It got rained out. They canceled the final round due to weather. You know, Rory, JT, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, Victor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, Schauffele. None of those guys, they're not winning. You know, they're not up there enough. And I think, the sport kind of needs its stars to be in contention a little more often. So that has not helped either.
It seems like a common thread across many sports. The money is so big, and guys have interest in doing other things with their lives, or the sports change. But in baseball, starting pitchers used to be stars, and you'd go to see whoever the star pitcher was. And now guys are getting pulled after, 4 1/3 innings. Well, you're not the hero getting big outs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. You're gone by the 6th. And in the NBA, we know how often stars are sitting in the NBA. It's nonstop before you look at a score and think, wow, that's a surprise. You better find out if the top guys played. And with LIV, guys want to play 54 holes, not 72. If you're not following it really close, you don't know which week LIV is even playing or if they're off this week. This seems like a problem across a lot of sports. Is there anyone talking about any solutions to it?
Listen, as a guy who lives in the Tampa Bay area and follows the Tampa Bay Rays, I know all about the opener. And to your point about starting pitching, it's a great point. Fans love to go watch the starting pitchers, and now they've almost become role players. And in golf, you're right. LIV only plays 14 events. You have to be pretty tuned in to know when they're playing. You have to be paying attention. Before they just played Miami, they went overseas. They played in Jeddah and they played in Hong Kong. Their tournaments weren't even available live on TV. That you could get them on an app, but you couldn't see it live on TV, and sort of out of sight, out of mind. Especially for us, for Americans mostly. That appeals to I will say, LIV does appeal to an international audience that feels starved, that they don't get to see the star players very often. We're spoiled in the U.S. We get to see them on our time zones, and we can get to those tournaments. But golf has an issue right now. So much of sports has become about entertainment and appeasing a wide audience. And sometimes I think what gets lost is the actual competition. This is still a competitive environment, and those things are important too.
Is Dick Vitale the biggest celebrity who roots for the Rays?
He probably is. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Dick Vitale goes to a lot of Rays games and laments some of this stuff we're talking about. I think I've seen him on Twitter talking about pulling the pitchers and stuff. It's kind of funny.
Bob Harig joining us, Sports Illustrated golf writer. You got 2 books. You got the Drive book with Tiger that is out right now. Before that, you wrote a book about Tiger and Phil. Now, obviously, early on, there's going to be a lot of tension, right? Because they're fighting for the same thing and their spot in the sport. It seemed like somehow, as they got older, they reached some middle ground. Maybe they weren't best friends, but at least they were able to play like they enjoyed each other's company on TV, and maybe there was more to it. But now Tiger's so invested in the PGA Tour and Phil's so invested in LIV. Has it gone full circle? Are they butting heads, or it's the Godfather and it's just business, it's not personal?
No, I think they're butting heads. But, frankly, I don't think they speak. When I was writing that book, it was before LIV started. And I sort of was surmising that they would kind of ride off into the sunset as kind of like Jack and Arnie did. Jack and Arnie were rivals, and then they became, they softened. As you get older, those competitions are in the background. I could frankly probably write a couple more chapters to that Tiger Phil book because I would say that their rivalry has intensified off the course in a different way. Phil, obviously, his legacy is going to be looked at a lot different because of what he did with LIV. Tiger's been a firm and staunch supporter in the PGA Tour and its legacy. And they've gone down different paths. And the idea of them ever playing together again, I mean, it would be wild if they somehow got paired together at the Masters based on scores. Augusta would never put them in the same group right now. But, based on score, they could be. And that would be wild. But they've definitely gone their different paths now. And, where that goes now, I think a lot depends on if the sides ever come together.
Well, Bob, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the Augusta and the Masters, and good luck with the book Drive about Tiger Woods. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated golf writer, and you can check out his book Drive. DJ and PK, reminder to listen every week to Win Tickets Wednesday. You can win tickets to games, concerts, shows. This week, tickets to see Sam Hunt at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 3rd. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday, all day tomorrow for your chance to win. We're talking hoops with Steve Cleveland. The search is on at Kentucky. That is next. Stay with us. DJ PK is brought to you in part by The Dish Pros. Join JJ and Alex live Wednesday from 3 to 6 at The Dish Pros, 8034 South State Street in Midvale. Time to welcome Steve Cleveland back to the show. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Steve, the college basketball world is spinning. Coach Cal, 15 years at Kentucky, ready to move on for quite the payday in Arkansas, apparently. Are you, what's the most surprising part of the story here? Because I think the thing that caught my eye was not only are they paying him, they're giving him $6 million in NIL money. $6 million, and he's going to make 8 or 9. He's got bonuses built in. Who knows what it'll turn out to be? Arkansas all in on the college hoops, but there could be a trickle-down effect that, who knows, might even trickle down to BYU. We'll have to see as the dominoes keep falling. But what was the most surprising part of the Coach Cal news?
Well, him leaving doesn't surprise me. I mean, they kind of I've watched Cal coach and play and have been around him, and I felt like that he was stuck. In fact, when I heard the news that he was going to Arkansas, Arkansas was open. Why Arkansas? All those circumstances really don't matter to me. I just think that he had done what he could do there. They just kind of hit a wall and had a few disappointing years. So it doesn't really surprise me that it's like, I need a new life. I need a new blood. I need to get reinvigorated. I don't know how old Cal is, but
65.
65?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he could probably coach another 10 years. You take good care of yourself and do what you're going to do. But it kind of made sense to me, to be honest with you. I mean, I was surprised when I first heard about it, but not so surprised that it's just kind of been stuck a little bit there for a while, and things haven't been what they should. And I watched their team play 3 or 4 times this year, just not whole games, but parts of games. And I don't know, it just didn't appear like he was having a lot of fun. It's just expectations are so huge there, and expectations will be huge too when you're paying a guy $6 or $8 million a year at Arkansas. But I think it's a good move for him. It doesn't surprise me. There's just a time, I think, when you just know, you know what, time has come, got to go, new challenge, new opportunity, and I think that's what we have happening there.
Follow my storyline a little bit here. So Mark Pope then gets a Kentucky job, which leaves the BYU job open. Rick Pitino was born in 1952. He's still coaching. I know a guy who's born in 1952 who used to coach at BYU. Are we going to see the return of Steve Cleveland to Provo, Utah?
That's probably not happening, but
Oh, you might go back to Provo. You need some groceries or something. You drive across town.
yeah, I'm getting I have 2 children in Provo. I'm living in Lehigh, so I could get down there. But yeah, I just talking about Mark and that circumstance and situation, I can't even imagine. Have you heard anything about that? Or is that just kind of rumor mill? I would be shocked if he left after all that he's done and where they're at and what's happening.
Well, it's Kentucky, man, and he played there. Rick Pitino has just been endorsing him several times on social media as Mark has had a number of big wins in the Big 12 this season. So, man, to me, wow, that would be tough. It's Kentucky, right? I mean, it's as high as it gets.
Yeah, you're right.
And he has a relationship with, and they won the title there. when he was playing. Look at it.
I think the hitch in all of this is that in the old days, absolutely he gets talked to, but with the transfer portal, you have to get a coach so quickly. So if you're Kentucky and you decide you want Alabama's coach, in the old days, you'd had time to talk to 4 or 5 other people, maybe build some background for a search a few years down the road, maybe get a few good ideas, interesting perspective on assistant coaches or trends or strategies, how to tighten up the act a little bit. But I don't know if you have time for that now. If you want the Alabama coach and he wants you, I don't know if you have time for the phone calls. You got to get him in place because the transfer portal is constantly moving and people are trying to pick over your roster.
Yeah, that's true. No, absolutely true. And things are happening quickly. And, hey, Mark's going to be good wherever he's at. And like I said, I will just say what my thought is that I don't see that happening. But I don't have that inside knowledge, or I've not heard any conversations about it. Would that be a great opportunity for Mark? Yes, absolutely. You have resources that are unimaginable, and NIL money and all the things that go with that. He's also got an entire team back that has a chance to do something special again next year. If Jackson Robinson stays, they're going to be picked in the top 3 or 4 in the Big 12 next year probably. And so, I don't know. Listen, I hope that Mark Pope does whatever he and his sweet wife and family want to do, because that's what it comes down to. What's in your gut? I don't think there's a bad choice here, and you could probably figure out reasons why he should leave, and that there's an opportunity here to be at the highest level in a program that has worldly well-known and it's just had great success. And you got a BYU team that they're a program that are trying to build and be competitive in the Big 12, which they've done. I know there's a sour taste in your mouth when you lose in the tournament in the first round, and everybody was disappointed in that. They need to get over that real quickly. Go and get it. Make sure the NIL money is there and available, and making sure you keep all your guys. And I just don't see guys leaving there right now. And then see what happens. I mean, Mark will always have probably opportunity to get jobs, but this is a special one. And like I said, if you tell me tomorrow that he made that decision, then that must have been what was exactly right for he and his family. And then that's how I would leave it. I mean, listen, there's no regrets about whatever you do. And I think that if that's the path, go for it, commit to it, and be the best you can. If it's not something that really feels good in your gut, then leave it alone. Keep doing what you're doing. The job opportunities will always be available to coaches these days, one way or another. And but I'd be surprised. But again, it's not something like I feel like, oh no, he needs to stay at BYU. That's his responsibility. No, none of that applies. He's at BYU because he loves the guys and he loves the program and he loves the leadership there. But you make decisions like that and you move forward. So I wish him well, whatever he did. I mean, from a selfish point of view, I hope he stays because I think they've got something really special going on at BYU. But that's his choice, and we'll hear more about it, I guess, if it happens.
Plus, too, how about the money, where the money factors in? I'm guessing that Kentucky is going to, if they zero in on somebody, it's basically whatever it takes to get them because they've got the resources.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is this, and I guess Mark, obviously, if this gets serious to his point of being really a serious situation, he's going to have conversations with the president and the AD and everybody at BYU as well. And they've got a number, and it's not like going into the Big 12 allows them to pay coaches, men's and women's coaches, more money than they've ever paid them. But I would think that that's a discussion that they're going to have. I don't think it's the most important discussion. If he's getting $7 or $8 million to go to, Kentucky versus maybe getting 3 or 4 at BYU, I don't know. I just not sure that the money's the reason he would go, even though it's a significant amount of money. You give him like a 7 or 8 year deal at $8 million a year. That is something that's hard to pass up, but he'll have opportunities at BYU to grow and maybe not make that kind of money, but there's other things that maybe as a family and with friends and connections in this community, there's a lot of things that get played into this that you have to think about. And one of the really important things is that making sure you and your wife are on that same page. And this isn't a decision that Mark Pope, if he were to leave, is going to make by himself. Leanne is bright and a big part of that family, and it's got to be good for her. And it's always hard to leave kids. They have children that are friends of my grandchildren, and they spend a lot of time doing things, and just uprooting and leaving is never, ever easy on any family to do. No matter what the money is, it's hard. And so those are all the kind of discussions that you need to have with your family, no matter what the numbers are.
When PK and I have talked about these jobs, I think our discussion has largely been informed by listening to Chris Hill over the years talk about, hey, this program is at the point where we need to hire coaches who have head coaching experience. And it's different when you move over one chair. And there's 350, colleges out there. It's 362 now, I guess, playing college basketball. We can get one of them to come here. And that informs us. Now, you broke out of that box. You made the jump from junior college to college. How much room is there for that in the game these days? Do you look back and think you were a little nuts for trying it, and it's crazy that it worked out as well as it did? How'd you view that then? How would you view that now?
I think it's more difficult, though. One of my good friends, Vance Wahlberg, who is a high school coach at Clovis West High School, as I was, is more than likely going to become the next Fresno State basketball coach. Now, Fresno State, when I went there, had all sorts of outside issues with violations and probations, and there was a lot of crazy stuff that went down. That's not the case at Fresno right now. But it is a really odd thing. I mean, at the time, when I came as a junior college coach, it was the first time. I mean, it just hadn't happened in years. And so it was kind of a unique situation. And to this day, you kind of shake your head. How'd that happen? I mean, I know a lot of people thought that. What are we doing here? And but that's not the way it works now. And I think that for coaches that are in high school and junior college doing those kinds of things, usually their path will be to become an assistant and then eventually be like an associate head coach, or in a program gets success, and then they get picked to be a college coach. I mean, that's how it works now. It certainly is not doing that anymore. And I think if I wasn't the last or one of the very last junior college coaches ever to go from that particular point to a head coaching position. There have been lots of junior college and high school coaches who have become Division I coaches, but the path was different. It was a path of becoming maybe a ops guy, to an assistant, to a third assistant, to a second assistant, to, after 10 or 12 years, maybe an associate head coach. And if that program's winning, that's what guys are looking for. I mean, think about it. Who would be the most prepared to deal with all facets of basketball if you started your journey in high school and you learned how to create an offense and a defense, and I know there's a lot of recruiting that goes on in high school these days, but it's not the normal path for the majority of schools. You grow up in an area, and then from there you get an opportunity maybe to get a JUCO job like I got. But even if it wasn't a JUCO job, maybe it's an ops position or whatever it might be, a strength and conditioning coach at a mid-level program. And maybe there was a connection there with a friend, and who knows what the circumstances were. And then 5 years later, you're the second assistant, and team is doing well, and now all of a sudden doors are open. That typically today is what the path's going to look like. And then obviously with all the jumping of players and NIL money and coaches on the move, oftentimes you're picking the blue bloods from another blue blood and the programs, and it helps recruiting. So I wish Mark the best. Whatever he thinks is best for his family, it doesn't matter what I think or that you guys think. We all have opinions, but I would be surprised if he left at this particular point in time. I would not be surprised down the road if he went to a place like Kentucky or like university. So we'll kind of have to see. But certainly the path was way different for me. And interestingly enough, that two guys that coached at Clovis West High School would be basketball coaches, at Fresno State. You just can't see that. But that being said, not that anybody that's listening to the show would even know who Vance Wahlberg is, but he's been with NBA teams. He's had a short stint at Pepperdine. He's been a high school coach. He won a state championship. He's done so many things, and all of the dribble drive stuff is stuff that that Oates used at Alabama. I mean, there's a lot of Division I coaches that are in touch with him as a result of what he's doing offensively, and consequently, he's being rewarded by having an opportunity to kind of rebuild the program.
You take any pride in the situation where you get to the Final Four and you got a couple of guys who were high school coaches? We already spoke of Oates. I think he was a high school coach for like 11 years in Michigan, I want to say. And then Dan Hurley was a high school coach in New Jersey for about 9 or 10 years.
Yep. No, I love it. There's no handout. I don't just listening to these coaches and hearing what their philosophy is and the circumstances. And, you look at UConn and, Coach Hurley, he's a no-nonsense guy, and I love the thoughts from him and Matt Painter in terms of how we go about recruiting. And neither one of them are diving deep into the portal. There is some portal action going on there, but they've been able to keep guys in the program and stay within the program. And I think it's one of those things. I mean, I think Purdue picked up a kid named Lance Jones from Southern Illinois, who ended up being a really good portal person for him. And UConn has, done a little bit of that as well. But they're building it from a foundation, building it up. And I think that, and they're also in situations where the best players in the country want to go play at Purdue. They want to go play at UConn because of the success that they found over the years. And, it hurt last year for Purdue. I mean, you get a first-round loss. It's a motivated team. But they're doing it the right way. And there's a lot of guys doing it the right way throughout the country. But it's one of those things that they've not had to completely depend on transfer portal guys. Now that both coaches are using it a little bit, but not to the degree where they're having 5 and 6 guys coming. In terms of the money, in terms of NIL, that's not going away. And I suspect at some point in time, changes will be made. But at the end of the day, you can't drop the ball on NIL, especially where these guys are at. You've got to be able to keep your best players, and that's what Purdue and UConn have done. So, big part of what's going on. We'll see what happens down the road, but you got to pay attention to NIL when you're at their level because you can lose guys real quickly.
What do you think of Edey as an NBA guy?
Here's the thing. The NBA is a positionless league. And Zach Edey, we know what he is, who he is, and I've watched him play 3 or 4 times, so I've not watched a ton of film on him. I mean, there's got to be a place in the league for him, and to have success, he's certainly shown at the collegiate level that he can do these things. But anytime you start talking about the NBA, I mean, you look at a guy like Jokic who is a big human being, but I don't think that Zach right now has that skill set that maybe a guy like Jokic would have. But I gotta believe. I mean, he and Edey and Clinton are both going to be probably top 10 lottery picks, and so you got to take a chance on Edey. I mean, he's a man. He's played there for a number of years. He's not a young player. He's not an 18-year-old or 19-year-old coming out as a freshman, but. If I had the opportunity to take him, yeah, you absolutely want to take him because he's so different than a lot of guys. But like I said, there's a lot of 7-footers in 6'10", 6'11", 7-footers in the NBA who are playing on the perimeter. So how versatile he could be doing that, I don't see that in his game out there, but that's also not part of his game. You could probably help me. I'm not sure that I've ever seen him shoot a 3-point shot. I mean, he probably has maybe used it at times. But in the league now, they expect all their bigs to be able to shoot threes. And that's just kind of the nature of what the NBA is today. So, yeah, I would draft him, and I suspect he'll be a top 10 pick in the draft. But where that goes from there, who knows? He's got a chance to be a really good player in the league. But I think, again, too, even though he's an older guy in college, he's still got an opportunity to grow and develop and be maybe a more improved perimeter player, as well as all the things that he can do around the block. But it's just, the game is so fast in the league that you can't wait for guys to get there either and come down and set it up. It's a 24-second shot clock. It's not 35 where you can take your time, get into it. He's going to have to make some adjustments, but I wouldn't say that he doesn't have an opportunity to have an impact in the league, because I just think he does. We'll just see what happens down the road. But I hope that he plays well. I don't want to see guys in foul trouble early and have to sit and watch games. I want to watch the best players play for 40 minutes, and may the best team win. Just take, hopefully. And I've watched enough of the NC2A games that, for the most part, the officiating, they're going to let them play, and the officials know who these guys are. And they're a break. Not that they're going to break the rules, but they're going to give. There's going to be some there's not going to be a lot of quick whistles when it comes to guys like Klingon and Edie and others who need to be in the game and make this a special night for both teams.
Zach Edey, career from the three-point line, 1 of 2. Took them both this year.
50%, man.
He is. He's a 50% three-point shooter. Sell
Live and
that.
die with that.
Thank you for that stat.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Steve. It's what I do. I have very few marketable skills, but that's one. Steve, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, bud. See you guys.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
I'm very proud of the work that Johnny's done. He hasn't gotten a ton of credit the last 2 years because he hasn't gotten as much time with us as maybe he's wanted, but he's stayed ready. He's put the work in. He takes really good care of his body. Johnny is very well conditioned. I think it's one of his strengths that isn't talked about very much. So it's always nice to see a night like tonight where the work pays off.
Will Hardy talking about Johnny Juzang's career high. Now, PK, it's what we always talk about. Can you back it up?
Oh, he can back it up. I got 3 words for Johnny Juzang.
Oh, here we go.
Sign him up. Sign him up.
You're selling it.
I'm buying. I am buying. I'm picking up what he's putting down.
Buying on Johnny Juzang. Let's go,
giving
Johnny.
him his flowers.
John. Oh, nice. You are so cutting edge. You're so 2024. And giving him his flowers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you walked on the floor and literally handed him a bouquet of flowers as he ran by for warm-ups? Johnny got his flowers. It's the Jazz and the Denver Nuggets tonight. Tip-off at 7, pregame at 6. Walker Kessler, John Collins, Chris Dunn, Jordan Clarkson, and Lowry Markkanen are all out tonight.
I wonder how many resters are going to be with the Nuggets. I wouldn't play the Yokester. I'd bring out a lounge chair, not just on the regular bench. Let him put his feet up. He's got some heavy lifting to do here in the coming weeks.
Gear him up for the playoffs.
I mean, this league is a joke as far as players taken out.
Players just game.
So let's just make it a total
game.
joke.
Yeah. Game after game.
Instead of those chairs,
guys not showing up.
have them recliners, lounge chairs, lawn chairs, what do you call them? Sip on a Mai Tai.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
The NBA taking the night off with the national championship game. 14 games tonight, but nothing last night. Charlotte Hornets are set to interview Stockton Kings head coach Lindsey Harding for the head coaching position. He's 2024 G League
That's a
Coach
she,
of the Year.
sweetheart, not a he.
Thank you. And the Atlanta Hawks announced that Trae Young has been cleared to resume practicing with the team after undergoing surgery to repair a ligament in his left pinky finger in February. Hawks hold the last play-in spot in the East, and they'll play the Chicago Bulls in the play-in tournament.
Nobody cares about them. I mean, that's the point why this thing is a story, is because it's a she.
There you go.
And that's never going to happen.
Give an interview and then go hire whoever you're going to hire anyway.
I just don't see it happening. Not saying that it shouldn't happen, because men coach women all the time and it's no big deal.
Yep. No, you brought this up for more than a decade.
Yeah.
You just don't think an NBA team will do it.
I don't. No. I don't.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Damn.
UConn Huskies go back-to-back, 75-60. They slowly grind down and pull away from the Purdue Boilermakers. Tristan Newton led UConn with 20 points. Zach Edey went for 37 in the loss.
Come on, read it.
I don't want to steal his stuff. I'm
It's
afraid
our stuff.
Okay. Zach Baked Edey
You're welcome.
went for 37 in the loss.
I mean, the greatest of them all allowed McCartney to have his name on the songs.
Oh, thanks. Allowed. I love that. So it's not really ours. No three-pointers. No three-pointers for you tonight, Purdue. You're defending the three-point line. Zach can get his, but nobody else is going
Yeah, he
berserk.
got his. That was about as predictable a game. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we've been talking about it at least since the Final Four started, that they'll let you play close a little bit, and then they'll just wear you down. Because whatever you've got, they've got plus that. If you've got one, they've got two. And they just have too much talent.
Yeah. You know, when you go to the bench, there's a weak link, and then another team can go on. Yeah, not with UConn. There are no runs. Did you see any spot in that game where Purdue had 3 or 4 easy trips down the court and scored 8 or 10 quick points? Nope.
No, when it was like the score was in the early 20s, because I was just hoping for a competitive game. I don't really care who won. And it was competitive for a little bit, but then they just pulled away. It's what they do. They've done it virtually all season. I mean, they, I think, had 3 losses.
Yep.
Kansas, Seton Hall, and Creighton, I think, were the 3 losses. But they just put you away. And it's very impressive to watch them do that, I have to really admit. I mean, I certainly wasn't rooting against them, not necessarily for them, but I wasn't rooting against them by any stretch. They put them away. Now, I would think that because this game was somewhat obvious in the second half that they wouldn't have the ratings that the women's got. So we're going to have people write stories and talk about that. And that'd be cool if they had the rating that was higher than the men. I mean, you have to look at the women's game. You just have to be amazed because, as we know, as we were told, the women's didn't even have the brackets until 2022.
They didn't have brackets until 2022?
Yuck, help them out, man. I can only go by the elected leaders.
The Vice President of the United States of America claimed that, and then there was evidence pointed out that her husband had filled out a bracket as recently as 2021 of the women's tournament. So, yeah.
God bless America.
Right? When you don't know about sports, just start blurting stuff out. Duke and UConn are considered the early favorites at the sportsbooks online.
Oh, I'm going today.
You are?
Yeah.
Meeting your sisters in Vegas? Family trip?
Going to sports. Mesquite. They're going to have to come more to me.
That a kid. Alabama coach Nate Oates issued a statement. He indicated he plans to remain with the Alabama Crimson Tide. He is not pursuing the Kentucky Wildcats head coaching position. John Calipari is leaving. Have you got those odds handy? You were reading this to us yesterday, how the odds makers handicapping who would get the coaching position.
Oates was number 2.
Oates was 2. Scott Drew was 1. But they're going to, and the reason why he didn't, obviously, he got a big fat wad of cash.
Yay!
To put in his back pocket.
All right.
And great.
Leverage it, baby.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you have that opportunity, go ahead and do that. And so they're going to do that, and good for him. And I think it's probably a mistake. Also, too, does Kentucky really want to pay $18 million for a buyout? I mean, I suppose they could, but that's a lot of cash. And so I don't know that you'd be interested in doing that. You can argue, well, they didn't fire Calipari, and they would have had a $33 million buyout, so they saved money from that perspective. I guess you can spin that any way you want. But now I would think they would throw whatever Dan Hurley's making $5 million more than that on top. I mean, go from that perspective, shoot for the moon. You're Kentucky. You consider yourself the most premier program in the world when it comes to college basketball. So who's the best? And right now it looks like our guy Dan Hurley is the best. And throw some big wads of cash at him. Make him say no. Make him refuse the offer, and then go accordingly. I think if I had to bet right now, I'd probably go Donovan. Now, he's had these opportunities before and turned them down, but I just wonder if the timing is right for him to do that. So we'll see. I still think they should interview Mark Pope. I don't think he's going to get the job. I don't think he's a favorite. But I think just as doing diligence for down the line, because Mark is young enough that it could come back around, especially if you hire an older coach.
When you read the odds, he was 5th yesterday, according to the odds makers.
Right. I would bring him in or Zoom him or whatever you do. Yeah. At least have some kind of conversation.
Hurley did get asked about it, and he hinted at no, but he didn't say absolutely not. But go ask my wife about that. Kind of alluding to the fact, well, my wife doesn't want to move from Connecticut to Kentucky.
I mean, he was born in Jersey City, and that's they're up the coast a little bit. They're not right in what they consider the tri-state area.
2 hours away.
But I mean, it's still close enough,
right?
Obviously. And they've got their roots planted deep, deep, deep there. But I can remember one time that when Kansas lost the final and Roy Williams was asked about North Carolina. I don't give a bleep about that, but then he took it.
A week from now I will, but not in the next 5 minutes.
And he swore right on live TV.
He did.
And I was offended.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Kansas City Chiefs superfan Xavier Babadour, a.k.a. Chiefsaholic, was ordered to pay $10.8 million to a Bixby, Oklahoma bank teller he threatened with a gun during a bank robbery in December of 2022. Babadour built a large social media following as @Chiefsaholic on X and Instagram, cultivating the image of an ambitious, generous young man who enjoyed gambling, Kansas State sports, and most of all, the Chiefs. He reached a federal plea deal in February after admitting to stealing more than $800,000 in 11 robberies across 7 different states, and he evaded police for more than 4 months before being apprehended.
What's his last name?
Babadour? I don't know.
Isn't that what Fred Flintstone used to yell?
I think that was Yabba Dabba Doo.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of ballpark. Maybe Barney yelled it.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
The NCAA Division I Council could adopt emergency legislation this month for a new transfer rule that would require all undergraduate athletes to transfer and play immediately if they meet specific academic requirements. The proposed legislation, which was first reported by The Athletic, would not limit the number of times an athlete can transfer. Athletes would still have just 2 transfer windows each year to move programs and would not be able to transfer mid-year and play for a second school in the same season.
Well, that's where I think that's just unjust.
They need to be able to play for 2 schools in the same season?
No, I think it should be done weekly. Monday is portal day.
Let's check the portal this morning.
Yeah.
I only played 27 snaps. I'm out.
Right.
And then the coach, you drop 2 passes. You're out.
Yeah.
Can't tell the players without a program. NCAA President Charlie Baker said he's focused on creating a consumer protection system for collegiate athletes and their families so they can have a better understanding of name, image, and likeness deals that are legitimate and those that are fraudulent. As he said, athletes have voiced concerns about it. Good luck with that.
The troubles of the world.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Ellie De La Cruz putting on a show, PK. 2 home runs, 1 a 450-footer, 1 an inside the Parker, flying around the bases. Not the best player in baseball, but the most electric player in baseball. You got a better word?
I haven't thought about that. I mean,
Reds beat the Brewers 10-8.
I would probably go with Mookie Betts.
Shohei Ohtani, opposite field, his 3rd home run of the season. Dodgers beat the Twins 4-2. Padres tied their largest comeback. They were down 8-0, scored 7 in the 6th, and then Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a 2-run homer to beat the Cubs in the 8th inning. Cubs blow the 8-0 lead and lose 9-8. Mike Trout deep, 423-foot homer. Angels beat the Rays 7-1. The Bees are opening a 6-game series in Las Vegas tonight. First pitch, 8:05. Tony Park's on the air at 7:50. You can hear the game on 1280 The Zone. That's what's trending. There are the headlines. When we come back, we got the question of the day. We got Brian Taylor, co-host of Real Golf Radio, live from Augusta, Georgia, at 8 o'clock. Tim LaComb at 8:30, and it's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. We'll be giving away a pair of tickets to the Jazz and the Rockets. Coming up at 8:30, another pair at 9:30. Jazz and Rockets Thursday night. That's the last home game of the year. Our final round of Jazz Ticket Tuesday. And we got the app I mentioned earlier. If you want to give us your take and hear your voice on the radio, go to the app and you can send us your audio. It's all there. We can use it next. PK.
What?
You hit a nerve. Today's question, that's a lot of responses. People are very interested in this. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Now, that's why we don't have uncovered drinks in the studio, right? JJ's got his...
We don't have... For all the bosses listening, we do not have drinks in the studio.
No, you can have this.
Is this legal?
You can have an Instagram influencer mom Stanley mug.
Which I do, and proudly. Hey. Are you guys making fun of it?
No.
I will defend the Stanley.
It keeps everything cold.
I will defend the Stanley.
Keeps the hot things hot and the cool things cool.
Give me all your Draper Mom jokes. I'll take them. I love my Stanley. They're amazing.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it is 97.5 The Zone. It is time for Hot Takes or Toast. Brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Ryan Smith wants name suggestions for the future NHL hockey team in Salt Lake City. What do you got? PK, more than 50 responses. People like to play this game. Name the next team. And Ben wants to name it after the last team, the original team, the Salt Lake Golden Eagles. Bring it back around. Honor the hockey tradition.
New identity.
Reach back a half century. Kevin, I've seen a lot of love for the Yeti, which I don't hate. But would we have issues with the Avalanche who have this secondary logo that looks very Yeti-ish? It's a big footprint, big hairy footprint. Don't want to get sued by the Avs. Don't need lawyers with your new partners fighting you over stuff. Jay says, I like the Grizzlies. I'd stay with them. Or the Stars. The Stars are already taken by the G League team. Not going to transfer that over, are you?
You already have the Dallas Stars, too.
Yeah.
Trouble there. Too much trouble.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Dan says, how about getting MLB and NHL here first and then worry about the name?
Oh, they coming.
Come on, Dan. People are having fun. Knock it off.
I mean, this is the Colorado Buffaloes winning their first game. We coming.
You skating down the ice with the hoodie up, looking up.
Yeah, I mean, the mayor of Scottsdale ripped the Coyotes for the land yesterday.
Yeah.
Put out some letter I saw.
Yeah.
So, and then they're talking about, well, let's take the team, put them up here. And then Bettman, the commissioner, says, we'll give you expansion franchise when the arena is certain. So instead of giving the expansion franchise there or here, they'll give it there and get the Arizona team, and you'll get it once you have the arena. I don't really like that idea if I'm here. I'd rather – you're this close
To having your own thing.
Yeah.
Why take their damaged goods? We'll do our own thing. Build it from scratch.
Right. I mean, we saw in Vegas, you can get a competitive team very quickly. So I think if you weren't, not that you're locked, but if it didn't look good for you to get an expansion, and the only way you were going to get it is from a transfer or a franchise, I'd say okay. A relocation. But here, it looks like, okay, well, why give Phoenix that? Why not just give us that?
Let them fix their problems.
Yeah.
Because the commissioner wants to fix one of his problems. That's why.
Right. Because if Ryan Smith just stepped back and said, okay, well, I'm not going to try to buy it, then maybe they would move someplace else, and then you'd get the expansion. Because you're going to get the arena and yada, yada. You're going to be good to go. I think since it's right on the brink of potentially happening, or maybe you just take the sure thing. I mean, it's easy for me to say. I'm not going to lose out or gain from it either way. But that's, I think, under the circumstances being what they are, when this market looks so good for it, I think at this point I'd just as soon have the brand new everything and not have to rebrand. It would just be the brand. It would be right from the start, day one.
Kevin says, if the Coyotes move here, I'd keep the name. The Coyote's a cool animal that is native to Utah.
I mean, they're also in Arizona. I see them on the golf course.
Coyotes are in California, too. Yeah. They're all over the place.
They're in Nevada. I played golf in Nevada when I was down there for the conference tournaments, and the two Coyotes were just standing there looking at you.
You going to shank this?
One was right on the green, just standing there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Totally used to golfers, not afraid of humans at all.
And then the other, his buddy, I assume, was just walking along.
What are these people with their sticks? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, there is the relatively new tradition of when a team moves, it leaves the identity behind. So when an expansion team comes along, the Sonics in Seattle, the Browns in Cleveland, a couple examples. Other places, the logo and the colors and the history move with the team.
The Sonics one, I think, was actually put in writing. To allow them to go to OKC, they had to put it saying all the Sonics records, colors, all that stuff stays in Seattle.
Well, yeah, if you wanted that, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I don't think that NHL is that deeply rooted.
Rooted in Phoenix. We've got to have the Coyotes name.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Cleveland Browns, who were working on half a century of tradition at that point.
I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter because you look at these franchises that have moved, and over time, they become that city that they're in. And Dodgers, Giants, obviously. And,
the Lakers.
And on and on.
Clippers.
I mean, there's a ton of examples.
Yep. Timothy says the Utah Stampede. It pays homage to the historical reliance from both natives and settlers on the wild buffalo herds that once roamed the area. Plus, they're tough. Tough as nails.
Who?
Timothy wants the Utah Stampede. Twitch Ryan says, Timothy, the bison herds in Utah are not native. They were transported here. Timmy says, I have a great-great-grandma who was in a stampede that could have killed her in the 1800s. So there you go. Pioneer arguments. Ready? Go.
But then wouldn't they just be called the Stamps?
You don't want to be called the Stamps.
Yeah. I mean, when you give a kid a name, you got to
anticipate what the nickname is going to be.
Right.
And things routinely get shortened to one syllable or letters.
If you're named Cooper, they're just going to call you Coop. And I had a photographer worked at the Watchdog, and he had a boy, and he said, well, I'm going to name him whatever I want, but everybody's just going to call him Griff because his last name is Griffin. So he didn't really care. He said, that's what everybody calls me, and that's what everybody's going to call him. So it's going to be the same thing.
I have no power here.
Yeah. So I thought, like, for Bowler Jack, if his parents figured out they're going to call him Bowler, then they should have just named him Jack. Force the issue. So you have 2 out of 3 chances to call him Jack rather than Bowler.
Jack Bowler Jack?
Yeah. Right. Just you're playing the odds that he would be called.
Have you ever run this theory by him?
I just thought of it.
Jack Bowler Jack.
Yeah. 2 out of 3 chances to be called Jack rather than Bowler.
James wants to name the team the Thunderbirds.
And then the T-Birds.
Yep.
Southern Utah would like a word.
Yeah, that's so far away.
Samuel says it should be the MLM marketers. Mocking. We see you there, Samuel.
Are you mocking BYU? Call them the startups?
The grift.
Samuel says he studied at Utah State, so yeah, maybe he is. Maybe he's taking a shot at BYU. Matt wants the Salt Lake Seagulls.
Now what, the seagulls ate the crickets, or did the crickets eat the seagulls?
Seagulls
ate the crickets.
Can you picture a cricket trying to eat a seagull?
Well, yeah, but I mean...
I want to see that happen.
Massive crickets. I mean, Hollywood could do it. You get like 500
A
of them.
swarm of crickets come in and just pull the seagulls apart.
Yeah.
PK sci-fi movie.
And that
Coming to a theater near
That
you.
was sent of God? Is that the story?
Yes. They had prayed for help, and a flock of California seagulls came in and devoured the hordes of crickets.
Were they along the avenue? Did they never think they'd meet a girl like you? Meet a girl like you? A flock of Salt Lake seagulls?
Yeah. Flock of Salt Lakes.
You know who's singing the anthem at the first game.
So they prayed for help. I like how the governor took abuse from non-believers and mockers of faith when he said, let's have a faith-based prayer for the drought to end. And in the last 2 years have
Got
been
tons
kicked
of
butt.
water.
But I've never heard those people say, oh, wait a second.
Waiting for a John Oliver episode on that?
Yeah, come on, guys. You certainly ridiculed him when he did it. And the last 2 years have been above average. I'm looking at the numbers.
Way above average.
Actually, not above average. It's like a record break.
Well, above average is way average. You don't have to correct me. I'm still correct. I didn't need added emphasis. I had it right. I do pay attention a little bit. Governor Bangerter, he prayed.
Nice.
And sure enough.
Way to go with the governor from 40 years ago.
Yeah, how far are we removed from Bangerter?
Because I know my Utah history. I just wanted to make a point. That's why I done that.
Because of 40th East. That's why you
Certain
got
highway.
I know my Utah history,
40th
man.
West, yeah, not East. I don't know my directions.
Yeah.
Parker says the Cutthroats. It's got to be the Cutthroats.
Oh.
There's a ton of great fishing here in Utah, and the Utah Cutthroats could be an intimidating name.
I know. Does it sound too violent?
That would be the worry, right?
Yeah. But I like the throats.
Everything's going to be shortened.
Yeah.
Vernon says none of the above. Nada. I'm happy with the Grizzlies. I'd rather have an MLB team or an NFL team in Salt Lake.
Well, so would I, but...
Hockey's coming, Vernon.
And what's wrong with that?
One team can lead to another. Isn't that what we just saw with Las Vegas? Hey,
One
that's
thing
working.
can lead to another. Oh, father and mother and sister and brother. If it feels nice, name that hockey team and don't think twice.
Bryson wants them to be the Utah Wolf Pack.
It's called the Pack.
There's already lots of Wolf Packs. College Wolf Packs.
Outside of Nevada and North
NC
Carolina
State
who can you
and
name?
Nevada. Oh, those are two I can name. I'll bet there's more. But I can name two off the top of my head.
Two Cougars?
There's plenty of Cougars out there. There's 3 Cougars. Houston, BYU, Washington State, and probably about 5,000 high schools.
Mm-hmm.
Not a certain high school here locally that was not allowed to name themselves.
Yeah, it couldn't be the Cougars because they thought it was, and then Zach Wilson ends up playing for him. That's sort of ironic.
Go Corner
Weird.
Canyon.
Life imitates art. Eric wants to name them the Arches.
And then people call me Archies. Ah, sugar, honey,
That can be the song they play after they win, right there.
You are my candy girl. Come on, I defy anybody to get on the app and sing better than me.
The app does have the open mic feature now. You can send us your audio, send us your takes. Yak says they can't be any longer than 60 seconds. And if you want them played, they probably better be shorter than that.
They better be spectacular if you're going the full 60. By the way, can I mention the one I've been favoring?
No.
Okay.
I agree with PK. No.
It goes back to one I could have mentioned. This is an adaptation.
The adaptations?
Yes, the adaptations. Yes.
The Utah adaptations. Change is coming.
What do you got?
Utah Sasquatch. It plays off of what Seattle's done with the Kraken, where it's both singular and plural. And you can call them the Squatches for short if you wanted to.
How about the butt Krakens?
You are a 7th grader at heart.
Well, that's my highest level of formal education.
It's not true. Got a teaching certificate from Grand Canyon.
I did. Imagine me corrupting the youth. We'd send seagulls to get me out of there.
Jeffrey says Utah has some unique animals, but they all have issues with some other franchises. The Yeti have issues with the Yeti footprint on the Avalanche jerseys. The Bison may make some sense, but the Buffalo Sabres have a similar animal in their logo. I say go with history and keep the Eagles, though I don't think it'll be the Golden Eagles due to the Golden Knights.
Okay, the Green Eagles?
Well, if you're going to go with the Eagles, don't you have to worry about the Philadelphia Eagles?
No.
No. It's just send their lawyers packing.
Oh, I mean, you own the Eagles' name? Did the band have to pay them?
Just worry about the logo.
I mean, that's just...
The Eagles is too generic to own the Eagles.
Right.
Which I guess you can say the same about Wolfpack and Cougars.
Yeah.
You can't own an animal's name.
Right. Unless you give the animal some cash.
But would it be confusing?
To whom?
To sports fans.
No.
Do you want something unique? Something that's all you?
Yeah, I like that. But there's very few names that are unique that is all you.
Okay, Utah Sago Lilies then. Let's go.
No.
Well, yeah. And then they can have the certain fan section call them the Lily Whites?
Yep.
There's no end to your genius, is there?
Sort of ought to be obvious there.
Don says the Utah Saints, the Utah Pioneers, or the Stormin' Mormons.
I don't think they're going to get religious there.
Justin says the Antelopes, because we live on the range where the deer and the antelope play, and we could chant, "Let's go Lopes! Let's go Lopes!" It'd be awesome.
What would we chant?
Let's go Lopes. Let's go Lopes. Let's go Lopes.
I don't mind that. And the Lopes. I mean, Grand Canyon, that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
They call them the Lopes. They've been the Antelopes back when it was NAIA school.
Jeff wants them named the Irradiated Brine Shrimp, or IBS for short.
It's pretty long.
Nobody's saying all of that.
Right.
Jake says the Flying Bears, sponsored by Stanley.
Bears don't fly.
Jeffrey says steal the pro Frisbee name here in Utah. Shred. Yeah, I don't see that happening there, big guy.
How about Mongoose?
Ooh.
Call him a goose. When your team comes to town, we'll goose you. Think of the possibilities. Huh?
No.
We'll goose you. That's a great name. You gotta have fun with it, man. Teams will come here and say, we don't want to get goosed. Right? Have you ever been goosed?
That question has trouble written all over it.
Well, you say we're seventh
Cox
graders.
holding his hand up. Cox holding his hand up. Like, don't do it, DJ.
You ever
Don't
been
do
a
it.
junior high prank?
Tread lightly.
The tread lighters, okay.
Utah State Iceman says, call them the Utah Phoenix. Since we're stealing the Coyotes from the Phoenix area, they will rise again. That'd be confusing.
Isn't there a high school called the Phoenix around here?
Farmington High School, yep.
Farmington, huh?
They did not want to be the Farmers, apparently.
No? Okay, well. I wonder if there could be something related to skiing and snow and that type of thing, to have some kind of...
The slopes.
I had mentioned the slopes a while back.
I remember you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Let's go slopes, playing off that lopes.
Yeah. Would that be cool enough?
That might work. Ryan Smith wants to use sports to sell Utah to the rest of the country and the world.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Something that identifies with the area, and obviously the mountains and the skiing, the slopes.
Yeah. Because I don't think anybody else would have it. Like if Phoenix got an expansion franchise, I don't think they'd be the slopes.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, they should be the brown dirt.
Phoenix brown dirt.
They got a lot of brown dirt there.
Want to go brown and gold like Wyoming?
No.
And the Padres?
No. You have to have something unique about it. The Padres, the thought of the Catholic priest wearing the brown. I get why they did that. It makes sense to me. And that's unique to them. And I think it's cool.
Troy says, let's call the NHL team the Utah Mountain Men. Hockey players have beards and are tough dudes. It's perfect.
I wouldn't call them the toothless. A lot of them are missing
teeth.
Yeah. The funny thing about the slopes, and the skiing here is great and all, and the great thing about it is the accessibility to the airport to be able to, you could literally fly in the morning and have no problem being there by lunchtime. And by there, several places. But the area has way more than that. You sort of pigeonhole yourself to that. And they did have the Winter Olympics, so it's already been that way. But, you look at the amount of sun that this area does get, it ranks right there in terms of anybody.
Well, if you say slopes, I think people are going to associate it with skiing. You could associate it with hiking in the summer, but it's hockey and it's ice and it's in the winter, so people are going to default to snow.
Yeah, I have zero
Plenty
problem
of hikers and mountain bikers.
I like the idea of something that nobody else has.
It's all yours.
Right. So I like the Sun Devils nickname.
It's all you.
Right. There's only one school. There's other Devils, but if you get to go to the Sun Devils, and I personally just have strong distaste for the stupid forks. I like the Sparky thing. I've always been a Sparky guy. I've never been a fork guy. I don't know why they...
Fear the fork.
I don't know why. Well, fear Sparky. I don't know why they push that. It's never resonated with me that well.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The smooth transition now from hockey to golf. That was effortless. We need another qualifier for the Masters, Jacques. All right, you know the deal. It's the Uinta Golf Giveaway. Be caller 12 right now at 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer in the Masters field. If your assigned golfer wins, you'll win the same brand of driver that player plays. And you get it from Uinta Golf, simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971. Brian Taylor joins us from the Masters coming up in 20 minutes right here on The Zone.
Accessing
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Sam Merrill joining us, former Aggie, now Cleveland Cavalier. How weird was it playing in that arena against the Jazz, a team that you grew up as a fan of? What were the emotions like for you?
It was quite the experience, to be honest. Played in that arena, obviously, a few times in college, but there's a big difference between a college game and an NBA game, obviously. And there was a lot going on, a lot of friends, a lot of family, like you said. You know, being out there for warm-ups and the national anthem and stuff, it was a pretty surreal moment. The Jazz are a big part of every kid's youth in Utah. So to be on that floor playing in an NBA game, it was a really fun experience and something that I definitely am not taking for granted.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is My Chemical Romance, as its lead singer Gerard Way's 47th birthday, and it's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com.
Never heard of these guys.
Well, you should have, because Gerard Way is from... Come on, PK.
Newark.
Patterson, New Jersey.
That's right next door. But, you know, the point I was going to make is there's so much great music out there that you don't know about because you just haven't been exposed to it. And then you look at or listen to stuff, not look, but you listen to stuff, and you're like, oh, I like that. I like this. I like that. Even when I was working at the Breeze, these guys, there's a couple of them, they were just way in the cowboy junkies. I never heard of these people. That's crap.
But there's so many bands. How can you have heard of them all?
But then, because they started listening to them and they started talking about them, I never heard of them. And not that they're hugely popular, but I listened to some of their stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. So when it comes to music, really, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you like what you like, but you also don't know that there's other stuff out there that you might like, but you just haven't heard it.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Utah Jazz are playing the world champs tonight. You were wondering who would play for Denver tonight. Who will play and who will sit? Their injury report, Michael Porter Jr. is probable. Aaron Gordon is questionable.
As opposed to Eric Gordon? Why'd you go with the emphasis on Aaron there?
I don't know. It just happened. Random.
Flash? So
He's got a foot injury.
Flash Gordon?
He's questionable.
Not going to make it?
Flash. The Joker and Jamal Murray are both on the injury report, but they're also listed as probable.
I'd sit them both.
Something could happen between now and then.
I've had them out there in sweats.
We've seen updated injury reports after our show ended before.
Give them recliners.
Give them recliners.
Yeah.
You got to be a little more, when you're sitting courtside, you got to be a little more prepared for someone to crash into you than that. You can't be reclining. He got hurt in a recliner when someone dove for a loose ball and landed on it.
Well, then sit him down far right, where you're practically in the tunnel. And then just have one of the assistant coaches stand there the whole time. They don't do anything. I mean, the Jazz made a big deal out of this replay dude, and they'd show him, and he, oh, man, he's a genius. Oh, yeah, and they've lost 87 games in a row.
Not seeing replay guys so much anymore. Not going to the replay for the crucial play in the game when they fell behind by 20 in the first quarter.
Yeah, so he's got nothing to do.
Yeah, he's got free time.
And then the other team's replay guy, you're killing the Jazz, so he's got nothing to do. Have him standing.
You want to replay it? No, I want to end this game and get on the bus and get out of here. Let's go.
Have him stand in front of the Oak Man and just take the blow.
Be good for a replay. Oh, and he gets blown up.
I'd be surprised if they played all their guys.
Doesn't seem to be much point to that.
No. I mean, you don't need your best guys.
You don't need all the guys to win this game.
No.
We've seen that multiple times.
Right.
Curry didn't play. The Warriors won comfortably.
Exactly. Yes. All you need is a lockdown defender on Johnny Juzang, and you're good to
go. Lock him down. Lock him down.
And his parents were so right to call him Johnny, because John Juzang, that's okay. But Johnny Juzang, That sounds like a player. That's a ball player. I mean, he probably could have picked his sport. He's Johnny Juzang, right? That's like a Hollywood name. If he makes it in Hollywood, he didn't even have to change his name.
That's true. One of a kind.
He's already there.
Give me something that stands out. Have you checked my name?
Yeah.
My name stands out.
It do. He shares the same birthday as Daniel R. Ainge. St. Patrick's Day.
All right. How old is Johnny now?
Johnny Juzang is 23. Next year he'll be 24. And when it comes to scoring, I'm expecting so much more because he's Johnny Juzang.
All right, well, if you want to top PK making up lyrics, the app is available. Yak will be the judge.
It's easy. I mean,
go to the app. We got the open mic feature back. You can send in your contributions, hockey team nicknames, or random songs you've made up to fit the sports headlines of the day.
Johnny Juzang, how I love him. You got two options for the Jazz this year, laugh or cry.
That's true. That's true. That is it. Well, I'll take laughter.
Right.
Johnny Juzang. Man, I hope he goes for 30 tonight.
Me too.
Come on, Johnny, light it up. Let's go.
Exactly, man.
Or do something great, 10 assists. Because Denver will be flying at you. You'll draw everybody. Then just split that double team with a bounce pass. I was going to say set Kessler up for a dunk, and then I realized he's not playing. Set up Yurtseven. He'll be playing. Yurtseven's answering the bell.
His mother is Vietnamese. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page because you asked his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother, Christian, played point guard for Harvard, so you know they're smart. And he played in the Vietnam Basketball Association for the Saigon Heat. I did not know they had a VBA.
There's a league everywhere. Everywhere you go.
That's seriously cool that he got to play for professionally in Vietnam. So, I mean, I think what I'm saying is Jimmer's career is not ending anytime soon.
But first, the Olympics.
Yeah, I hope he does go. There's been crazier stories. I hope he does go. I hope he goes off. Yeah. And maybe they got something. That'd be so cool.
DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, Brian Taylor, co-host of Real Golf Radio, live from Augusta. He's at the Masters. He will join us next. Tim LaComb is talking hoops with us at 8:30 right here on The Zone. DJ, PK, and Brian Taylor joins us now, co-host of Real Golf Radio. He is live in Augusta for the Masters. Brian, good morning.
Morning, boys. How are we?
Good. You're bored. You've done this a lot. It gets old. You don't really want to go to the Masters anymore, do you?
You know what's interesting? We drove in. Gosh, we get in Saturday morning now, and we were driving from Atlanta to get into Augusta, and you got right there by Berkman's Road, which is just a block from where you turn into the press parking. And, you know, I started getting a little giddy, you know, just kind of had to just the energy started pumping. I think this is our 23rd year or something like that going, and it's still just as exciting. I mean, we had a chance to talk to Tony Finau on the show Saturday, and he said he still feels like a kid in the candy store, still feels like a kid on Christmas morning, still just gets all those same excitement and emotions when he comes to this place, and seems pretty universal for most of the guys that come here. It's a cool place, man. It's really cool.
When you have other huge sporting events, people will mill around the area. You know, if it's a baseball stadium downtown, there'll be thousands of people there, and many of them aren't actually going inside the venue to watch the game, but they're still hanging around. And I've never been to Augusta. I'm wondering, do people congregate there? Is that possible? Because I don't even, I've just seen the Magnolia Lane and all that, to where there's people there who actually won't ever go in to watch, but they want to be there because that's sort of the place to be at that time?
It's an interesting question and an interesting time to ask that question. So they do have hospitality off-site where different hospitality corporations have bought up homes in the neighborhoods surrounding the gates here at Augusta National, and they've created these hospitality areas where they have food going and big TVs and bars and lounge, and it's kind of set up like a sports bar hangout kind of thing, something similar to what you'd see outside a baseball stadium or something like that. And Augusta National just announced this year they've got a new venture called Map and Flag. You got to look this up. So obviously that describes the logo, right? The map and the flag. And it's going to be their own Augusta National hospitality. And they've bought up this, as they continue to buy up the property surrounding the club, they've bought up what was formerly, I think it was a call center or something, a fairly large-sized building. And they have turned it into essentially a giant sports bar with its own merchandise facility, and the umbrellas that you see behind the clubhouse with that seating and things like that. So you can actually participate in an Augusta National hospitality situation where you can do that very thing, hang out. You're outside the gates, but you're kind of taking on that whole Masters experience. Now, the hospitality does come with, obviously, the option to buy tickets into the tournament as well and things like that. But it is interesting. Otherwise, I would say I think some people, they come in hopes of being able to get a ticket. I've seen fathers and sons, wandering around hoping to get a ticket and things like that. They're pretty strict on resale and where you can do it and how close to the club. And so it tends to get further and further away from the gates. But I think there are a few people that make some pilgrimages here hoping that they might just get lucky and somehow be able to get a ticket that they can afford to come in last minute. But otherwise, I wouldn't say Augusta, Georgia is one of those just sort of hangout places if it's not directly for the Masters.
How about just July? Are there people who do that?
Yeah, no.
Is there stuff to see then?
So I've been involved in – no, there's nothing to see. In fact, when you drive by, I've talked to some of the local guys, media guys here, and Magnolia – so all around the club, it's basically, this bamboo wall that goes around. You can't see anything. And when you drive by Washington Road where Magnolia Lane is, there's a little sign that just says Augusta National members only. And then there's, you can see where you turn in by the little guardhouse, and they have bollards up there blocking Magnolia Lane. You can't just do a quick try to run down Magnolia Lane. Oh, no. But they told me that they actually, so the club's closed during the summertime. They close from middle of May, end of May till October. And that I guess this year they actually put that green screen fencing across the front of Magnolia Lane. So you literally drive by, you can't see anything. So there you go. Yeah, nothing really to see if you're here outside the week of the Masters.
So there's nothing formal, because if you go to Fenway or Wrigley or something, you can do a tour on an off day. The team can be out of town or even in the off season, but there's nothing like that. Not official, not crashing. Not crashing. It's an official thing. You pay your $20 or whatever.
Right. No, they don't have that. In fact, they used to have on the one near the one entrance, there was an outside, they call it an outside pro shop. And you could actually walk up, even if you didn't have a ticket, you could walk up and buy a hat, or you could buy a shirt or something like that. And they've done away with that. So, yeah, there really isn't any sort of, unless you're a ticketed patron, there really isn't anything for you to do here.
What's the weather situation like?
A little bit of rain this morning. It's interesting because we were listening to Xander Schauffele yesterday in his press interview, and he said the golf course is as firm as he's seen it in years, and he absolutely loves it. I mean, balls are rocketing over when it hits into greens if you're coming in too hot and things like that, and he thinks that's the best way that Augusta National can play. But as you know, literally every year for the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a little bit of interruption in play because of weather, and he said it's unfortunate. It looks like it's going to rain on Thursday, and sure enough, this morning we woke up, there was a little bit of rain that fell. I don't think it's anything significant that's going to affect the softness of the golf course, but Thursday morning is looking pretty serious. 88% chance of thunderstorms, going to work through most of the morning and early afternoon. So I suspect the way it's headed anyway, that's likely to get if it doesn't delay play, to soften up the golf course somewhat on Thursday. But nice sunny days the rest of the week, so hopefully the sun will bake it and firm it up again, and it'll be an awesome weekend. But, I mean, it's always good, right? You hear about the sub-air systems. You hear about all the things that they put into place so that they can not have play be affected too much. But at the end of the day, it's outside, so Mother Nature definitely has its way.
Let me ask you, for the 10th year in a row, what are the odds of Rory winning and completing the career slam? Is this just turning into a huge gorilla on his back here?
Absolutely. I think the longer it goes on, the tougher. I was talking to some of the my friends at the BBC that sit just next to me, and then we were talking about Rory and even one of the guys that is with Ireland Radio, and he's like, "Look, I love Rory. I love him. He's a great guy. He's given us a lot of excitement, a lot of work over the years." But he said, "I just don't see it happening." Last year when he sat in his interview, he was the most confident. And I think I came on here and talked to you guys about that. That's the most confident I've heard Rory in his opportunity to complete the career Grand Slam ever. I'm like, well, this could be the year. This is it. I mean, this guy was on point. He was unflappable. He missed the cut. So it's hard to say. The Ireland guy said he was requesting a 15-minute interview, that he wasn't doing any outside interviews. So he's kind of taken the opposite approach after a couple of years of being the face for the PGA Tour and kind of carrying that mantle in this battle with Liv and all that kind of stuff, that, he's wanting to keep it a little more on the down low, keep to himself, not maybe have to answer all the questions, take all that time, add the pressure that comes from having to answer the questions and so forth. So we'll see. I mean, everybody, it's interesting to listen to the players when they come into the interview room and they talk about their process for preparation for trying to win the Masters. And Victor Hovland was just in here, and his whole process was focused on swing and what do I do with my swing? What am I working on in my swing? Yada, yada, yada. And really very little to do with how do I unlock the golf course? How do I attack Augusta National? How do I win here? And so I'm like, well, is that the right approach? Focus on swing, not necessarily golf course. Other people, they're focused on how to unlock the golf course, how to play it, things like that. So everybody has their own approach. And as far as Rory goes, I mean, Bob has been touting Rory for so long. I mean, to be one of the few that win the career Grand Slam would be a terrific story. And everybody really tends to love Rory McIlroy. So I don't think there'd be anyone that would be sad about that, but maybe outside of Greg Norman. But other than that, I just think it's going to be a tough order. I think he's one to watch, but I think it's going to be a tough. The longer it goes, the tougher it is.
I saw a picture on social media, April Fool's, and it was Rory in a green jacket.
That's brutal.
I know.
That's brutal.
I thought it was very cruel when I saw it, but I did smile. I have to admit, I did.
You smiled at cruel? That's also real surprising. Yeah.
And it did at least elicit a chuckle. I mean, I don't root against Rory by any stretch, but I thought it was a little bit sarcastic.
But you love irony.
Yeah, I got it.
Sarcasm.
I mean, and it was that's why, yeah. But it was mean, but he's still young enough. He still has some time on his side to get the job done. Is there any overriding storylines this year? Because a lot of times you go into it, whether it was Tiger or somebody else, and you got to live and all that stuff, and Rahm's defending champion, and he defected and all that. So I'm just wondering, is there a single overlying storyline that people are talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that was one. As we were sitting here talking, John Rahm was actually in the interview room, and I'm shocked. Like, the media's done. They're out. That must have been the shortest defending champion press conference maybe in the history of defending champion press conferences. I expected that we would be done and I would catch the second half of that interview. When I turned it off, listening to it up here in our little seat here in the press area, in the seating area, they were right in the middle of asking him about his decision to go to Live and any regrets and all that kind of stuff. So that's where it was. And that's where, it went right to that, right? And now it's done early. I mean, that was maybe 10 minutes. So kind of surprising, but that's a big storyline. I think, everybody wants, it's less of a story. I would say the feel is less than it was a year ago when all these guys were coming together for the first time, right? Then this year, it's like it's happened a few times. Brooks already won the PGA, all that kind of stuff. So it feels like that's a little bit less. Other storylines, Scottie Scheffler's a big storyline. He and Nelly Korda, both number one players in the world, both had opportunity to win 3 in a row. And Scottie misses a short putt in Houston to miss a chance to get into a playoff and try to make it 3 in a row. Nelly wins 3 in a row, then makes it 4 in a row this week. So Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see what Nelly's done. But Scotty, look, coming in here, having won 2 years ago, having won 2 of his last 3 starts with a second in the other one, and one of them being the Players' Championship. I mean, Scotty's he's the number 1 player in the world, and he's an outright favorite. That's not always the case coming in here, and so I think that's a big storyline. That's probably what I would have on, Rory trying to complete the Kerr Grand Slam in year 10. John Rahm is the defending champion and live defector, and Scotty Scheffler coming in world number 1 and the guy to beat. So I think those are, and then look, obviously Tiger, and I'm sure you're going to ask me about Tiger, but Tiger's he's looking for 24 consecutive cuts made here at Augusta. That would be a record. He's tied right now at 23 with a couple other players, and so if he is able to make it to the weekend, he will have the most consecutive cuts made here in the Masters, in the history of the Masters. So that's a little storyline to watch, see if he can get to the weekend.
How many times have you referred to Gary Player as, a couple of other players?
Well,
he's one of the guys on 23. I think it's Couples, isn't it? Is he the other one?
I had it written down
it's
here.
It's definitely Gary Player.
It's
definitely Tiger Woods, Gary Player, and it's somebody else. I thought it was Fred. I saw it on a screen briefly, but didn't remember.
The other one that's interesting, yeah, you're right. Tiger's tied with Fred Couples and Gary Player for the most consecutive. Yeah, you're right. The interesting thing is, if you look at Tiger, obviously he didn't play 4 years during that stretch, but the way the Masters is counting it is if you participate, right? And so Tom Watson sits back there at 21 from 75 to 95, but he didn't miss a year. So I kind of maybe throw a little asterisk on this one. I mean, Watson went 21 for 21 all 21 years. I think there's something to be said about that Ironman effort that he had. So.
Yeah. No question. It's just like I've always said, Jack Nicklaus's record of majors is impressive, but I might be more impressed by his second-place finishes, which I think is one more.
That's right, 19. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that to be in the hunt like that to me, that part gets overlooked when we're talking about records. Is that, and I realize it's second place, so whoop-de-doo. But if you have 0, that might be one thing, or if you have 1 or 2. But when you got 18 plus you got 19 second place finishes. I think that storyline goes together. But anyway.
No, it does. And look, you think golf's different, right? Because in the other sports, it's one-on-one, right? You're either win or lose. Right. You're one out of, for majors, you're 1 out of 130, on average, right? So it's a little different, right? So, yeah, I think the first and the second's a huge stat.
I saw Zalatoris said that Tiger looked great and moving well. What does that mean?
Yeah, you know what? I actually have only seen him from afar. We tried to chase him down when he came out on Sunday. He came out and chipped and putt, but apparently you had to have a green jacket to follow him around that day, so we were unable to do that. And then
why don't you buy one?
I bought the hat. I was hoping that would be enough, but it wasn't apparently. So I bought the hoodie too. Does the green hoodie? Can that be the next tradition?
Sure.
Congratulations, you won the green hoodie. Yeah.
I can just see you. I got a green windbreaker. Why can't I follow?
Didn't I read players were wearing those lighter hoodies playing in the earlier parts of the tour year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm down with the hoodie.
Yeah,
it's a big thing. There's a golf purist conversation there, to be honest with you, where people are like, hoodies don't belong. But all they've done is they've created the hoodie without the strings.
Yeah.
So the strings aren't hanging down and messing you up while you're swinging. So that's the new thing. Yeah. I'm wearing one. It's got a Masters logo on it. Bought it yesterday. No big deal.
Nice.
Overspend here. That's the biggest thing.
Of course.
It's not hard to do.
Yeah, but you're saving it all on pimento sandwiches, so it all comes out in the wash.
There it is. Yeah.
Now, you have a little bit of involvement with Black Desert from the commercial aspect of it, and that's coming in October, man. It's going to be here. It's going to be crazy to think about it, but it's coming. Have you heard any buzz among the players as far as participating?
No, haven't. I've talked to their tournament director a couple of times, and he said it's still an effort. They're still efforting to, it just basically go out and recruit. But there won't be any commitments, for a while. But being a FedEx Cup Fall, I will say this: I think this is a good year to sponsor a fall series event, because the way they've changed it is if you're not in the top 50, in the FedEx Cup at the end of the season, then you don't get into the signature events the following year, unless you can be in the top 10 of the fall series, the FedEx Cup fall. And so there's some added incentive that if you finish in the top 10 in the fall, then you're in the first 2 signature events for the following season. So I think you're going to see a decent amount of good players that come down to improve their position. Vegas and Black Desert will be, back-to-back weeks, which is easy to get to. They're only an hour and a half apart by car, things like that. So I think it's going to do pretty well. I would hope we'd see some local guys there as well. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be fun to see what these guys are going to do. And, now's the time to get down and play it if you can get a tee time. It's pretty high demand, but it's
with that in mind, Brian, right? What are you doing during the commercial break?
Was that a setup? PK? Come on now.
I played it twice. It's gorgeous.
There you go. Okay. Anytime, just let me know.
All right, before we let you go, are you taking Scheffler or are you taking the field?
You know what? We used to have this conversation with Tiger, and it was hard to take Tiger. So I would definitely take the field. I think that's the better bet. But Scheffler's the favorite for sure, but I would take the field in that one.
Okay.
There's too many things that can happen, right? I mean, it's not easy. There's, the list of guys that have won 2 versus the list of guys that have won 1. It whittles pretty quick. So, but I wouldn't put it past him. I'm not betting against him.
Brian, we appreciate it as always. Enjoy the week.
You got it. We'll talk to you soon.
Brian Taylor, co-host Real Golf Radio, live from Augusta, and they will be there doing their show live, 6 to 9 here on The Zone on Saturday morning. It is time to give away a golfer in our You Win a Golf Masters giveaway contest. Be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 will be assigned a golfer in the Masters field. If your golfer wins the Masters, you will win the same brand of driver that player plays from You Win a Golf. Simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971. DJ and PK, stay with us. Tim LaComb is coming up next. And Yak is going to get a winner. Then he's going to clear the phones because we're giving away Utah Jazz tickets on the other side of this break as part of our final Jazz Ticket Tuesday of the season. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I wish the season was more enjoyable for Jazz fans. All I see on Twitter is how miserable this is. Worst stretch for the Jazz in basically 50 years. It's as bad a basketball as I've ever seen in my life watching the Jazz. It's a low, and again, it's with a purpose, but this has been as unenjoyable of a basketball season as there's been in Utah, maybe ever.
When fans say that, it sounds like they're blaming the team. They didn't create the system. It doesn't behoove them to win basketball games. The Jazz didn't create the NBA system where it's actually an advantage to lose. What's the criticism? Because the criticism at halfway point is, it's in your best interest to suck, right? What are you doing? And then they suck. And now people are going like, well, how dare you suck this bad? What are you talking about? Is it in their best interest to suck or not?
It is.
And that's not their fault. That's the NBA's fault.
That is the NBA's fault.
If you don't like it, then stop watching the NBA. I don't buy into that I feel bad for Jazz fans. This is the sport. This is what comes along with it.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The Utah Jazz are down to 4 games. 2 home games. Denver tonight, Houston Thursday, and then they'll finish up with a couple of road games.
Where do they play those home games?
Here in Utah.
Where specifically?
In Salt Lake City.
No. The actual building.
Same arena they've always been in, PK.
I know. What's it called these days? Because they've changed 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to ask around. I'll have to see what that's called.
You just refuse. I am so
I think they went back to the name from the 90s, the Delta Center.
No, it's not. No, they have chosen to drop the. And I've dropped the.
Why did that sound gross? I dropped the. Oh!
I said drop the, not the.
Drop the. Why not drop the?
Because it's not the Delta Center anymore. It's Delta Center. That's what they've chosen. Mm-hmm. The marketing geniuses. And it has just rubbed you wrong from day one, and I don't
You
understand it.
think it sold more tickets?
Yes.
Think there were a lot of meetings leading up to that?
Yes.
Or just one person had an idea in a car one day and snapped their finger?
They end up losing money because a lot of guys put in for overtime to come up with that decision.
Well, they'll make it all back.
Yeah. So tonight at Delta Center. And if you say you will be fired.
It's a Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, wins a pair of tickets to see the Utah Jazz and the Houston Rockets Thursday night, the last home game of the season, our last Jazz Ticket Tuesday of the season. Call right now. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE.
I see a top 25 USA Today, the preseason top 25, which is more needless than
ever with the transfer portal. Nobody has any idea who's going to be on a team.
But they have BYU at 10th.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw Yak had a thing when we did What is Trending that the odds maker had BYU as it was FanDuel, had them as the 14th best odds on the list of title contenders. BYU is at plus 4,000.
Yeah, the USA Today has them at 10th, and which would be good enough for third in the Big 12. They've got Iowa
Houston?
State. No, they have Houston below them.
Oh, okay.
They have Iowa State at 3 and Kansas at 4.
Okay.
But, with transfer portal guys leaving, coming, it's way too early.
DJ and PK, it is time to welcome in the one, the only, Tim LaComb. And his interview brought to you by Spherian. Are you a business owner? You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire? Let Spherian Staffing and Recruiting do it. Visit Spherian online at spherian.com/Utah. Tim, good morning.
Good morning.
Did you find that NCAA championship game interesting, or did you find it completely predictable?
Well,
Interestingly predictable.
Yeah, but I was intrigued by it because I like those two big guys. That was kind of an interesting thing to think about how both teams would approach that. But if you remember when you guys asked me, I picked UConn. It wasn't remarkable, but I just felt like they were that much better than everybody else this year. And man, their coaching's good. They are really into all the details and don't leave a whole lot to be desired. The thing that stood out to me was literally just on every catch. Every catch was contested. As guys tried to throw the ball in, the hands, active hands and ball tracing and constantly in a defensive stance. I mean, it was just really impressive all the way around from UConn this year.
Do you think that comparing to the NBA game, the traditional big man in which we know has been so important over the years but has been transformed at the NBA level, do you think it's more important at the college level? It seems that not Kentucky, but UConn has that. And Purdue had it too, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a way to, I guess, two different things. You got to be able to protect the rim on the defensive side. And then I think offensively, you see in college a lot of different ways to play, but, bottom line is you want to get the ball into the interior, whether it be by dribble penetration or throwing that ball in a bunch. And certainly they've been able to balance, the offense. I think what really is underrated about them is the way that their defense fuels offense, the way they get out in transition and run. They definitely utilized all the big things a big guy can do, that rim protection, stretching the floor vertically on rim runs, and then, as always, just being able to post up and throw it down inside.
Watching that game, I couldn't help but think a little bit of Jerry Sloan, but it was a college game, so more of Rick Majerus, and I just wondered how much you flash back on the defense, because a couple things that Majerus's best teams had is they never gave up, well, not never, but they rarely gave up easy hoops on 2, 3, or 4 consecutive possessions. If you got something easy off them, the next trip down, everybody knew we got to be great this trip because otherwise there's going to be a timeout and we're going to get yelled at. And I thought there was really no stretch where it was easy, and it was so hard for them to drive the ball because you had to beat like 3 defenders to get to the rim, which is what I always thought about Majerus's best teams too.
I think the common thread is that, the guys that end up sticking with Hurley, the guys that end up sticking with Majerus, obviously talented players, and he said this, Hurley said this in his interview. I thought it was really kind of the moment of the whole season. The NIL has really created an environment, much like the pros, where it's all about, to about 85% of it, it's all about me. It's me getting my check. It's me getting my endorsements. It's me getting my money. So in that day and age, I think what Dan Hurley's done, and I think what Majerus did way back when, was he emphasized the team, and Dan said in his interview afterwards that, they really do a good job of recruiting NBA-type players with the caveat that they're willing to give. They're willing to play for each other. They're willing to put their personal agendas aside and trust that a winning program will put them in, the best light going forward. And I think his words rang true last night. I don't know if you watched that game, but, man, you covered a guy like Castle, who just every single play, man, he's in a stance and he's trying to sell out for the other guys on his team to win the game. And so I think that of all the things UConn's done, I think it's that. I think they have figured out a way in a very me-oriented society to emphasize the team, and that's when basketball's played at its best.
Yeah, and he did say that, if you want to go to the NBA, do that team game and buy into it, and then you'll be appreciated more potentially, particularly, if you're not the greatest player in the world, that's the way you could do that. And I was fascinated by his repeated times he said that, because I can recall in his coach's office with Dave Rose talking about that very issue multiple times, and how it was so hard to get some guys at BYU who thought they should have been getting more stats, and it became a problem. And this is something that I remember him specifically pointing to, look at the premier players in our program, and he pointed to two banners that were outside his window overlooking the new practice facility, and it was Jimmer and Ainge, and they were players of the year. And, you're not going to get that, but if you want to win, that's the way to do it. And it seems so simple, but yet it seems that it's hard to get guys to do it because they're so involved in their personal stats.
Well, and for years, really, let's call it what it is. For years, these guys, particularly the high-level guys, are told how great they are, and they're given free stuff. And, the other element that Danny talked about last night that I think is so big is parents. When you recruit, are you going to recruit a kid whose parent's going to let you coach them? Or do they already have this preconceived idea that, oh, no, this is what my son does. This is what he's going to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that you're fighting a lot of that, but, man, you can see the result when everybody just leans in. It's funny you mentioned Ainge's years and Jimmer's years. Yes, they had at least voted those years the best player in college basketball. But, man, look at the supporting cast and look, I can speak to the Jimmer year. A guy like Jackson Emery doesn't come around very often. A guy who will do all of the dirty work, and get, not very much credit, but just continue to show up day after day for the team. Noah Hartsock the same, on that team. You just go right down the list. Charles Abua was built that way. So I think you could do that with
Logan
Magnuson. Logan Magnuson, all about that, right?
Logan catching strays.
James Anderson, if you're going to go there, come on, those were the two backup bigs when we lost Brandon.
Yeah.
But then I think, you look at Ainge's teams and obviously a ton of talent, but similar mindset, similar character, guys that are, really successful in life today, but were willing to give a little bit of themselves to the team for the betterment. And I think, man, I'd love to see the game take a major shift that direction.
Is that a desperate cry for help right there? Is there any chance that's going to happen, or is that just you begging the universe?
Oh, no, that was just basketball therapist.
Okay.
Sits on a cloud and, spins a ball on his finger. You talk to him every now and again.
Do you have any confidence in what's going to happen in the transfer portal for the local teams, or is it all still a massive question mark in your mind?
I think it's always a question mark, but it's a major resource. Coach used to use the term with me, as we talk about recruiting, how many ponds, legitimate ponds, can we fish in and get, can we get good talent? And I think what the portal's done is it's really introduced every school to every player. It's a matter now of being able to talk guys into coming. But if you look around, I think that, BYU's used it very, very well over the last few years. And, I think the same could be said for Utah State, for different reasons. But I think it's definitely, Utah's had some success with it. It's definitely an opportunity to dip in there and change your team very, very quickly, add some age, add some experience. But you also have to understand there's 360 teams in there as well. So you've got to have a differentiator. And, that's where NIL comes in and all that sort of thing. But I think they'll have success because I think that's the way of college basketball now. I think you've got to dip into that. The key, I don't think you can be too heavy in the portal. I think you got to have some continuity. You got to be able to grow your culture and your program. If it changes every 8 months, that becomes an issue. I look at BYU right now, and I think they're in the perfect situation because they've got young guys who just played their tail off in a really competitive season, and they're headed, the majority of those guys are headed back. And so I think then you add upon where were we not great this year? What do we need to add? And, almost like a GM, and then go out and search that portal and find a couple guys interested. And again, it doesn't have to be the highest of the highest level, just somebody that can come in and fit, somebody can come in and accentuate what you're doing.
Well, yeah, you saw that with Alabama. They get a kid out of Northern Colorado, and he's looking like a star. And he's making a major difference in their Final Four run. It's obvious. And so you can pluck somebody up, and it kind of stinks that the lower schools, to an extent, become a farm system. But, that cat's out of the bag or whatever it is, and so you're not going to change that. I'm wondering, do coaches now have to massage the NIL in making sure you got egos involved? And you talk about the parents, and the parents are going to be there, and their kid is getting X amount, and you just brought in somebody else who's not as good, but now he's going to get more. Has that become a little bit of a problem that they have to manage, another headache for coaches?
I would think so. I was worried about making sure the snacks were allocated correctly in my day. Everybody got the same amount of fruit chews in their bag. But now you're talking about a whole bigger issue. And I think anything where there's comparison, right down to, the shoes you got, the team gets. I think when there's comparison, I think there's always going to be a little of that. I will tell you this. The one thing as a coach that I've found is everybody likes to talk about their career. It doesn't matter who it is. And I would say it's borderline 80% of guys who got screwed by their coach.
Oh, for sure.
They would be, you know what I mean? A number of times I talk to people and they're like, yeah, man, I was really good, but my coach and I didn't see eye to eye, so it's always been a thing. I think it'll always be a thing. There'll always be, because people have to make themselves, they got to live the rest of their life knowing, all right, what's the story I'm going to figure out here? But yeah, it's another huge headache. That was a very long answer to answer that question.
I can remember
a very big headache.
One year covering the Utes, that the first month of the season, Majerus kept complimenting one player, and he would just go overboard complimenting this player. Who was the good player?
Was he number 50?
I won't say his name. And
I know it was his number. I said his number.
Yeah, it wasn't Doliak. No.
No, Doliak was 51.
Oh, and then I don't remember who was 50. It was
the guy you talked about all the time.
Oh, Alex. This was, I think, no, I think Alex would have been gone, maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe Alex was just a
now
freshman.
I got the second Alex then.
Yeah, and so he
Colorado kid.
He's just complimenting him over and over and over again, and I'm thinking, why is he doing this? I mean, you had some real big-time stars on the team, and this was a good player. And I went and asked someone, what is going on? He said, oh, because the dad spent a whole lot of time in Majerus' office over the summer. And how come my kid's not getting the run that he should be getting? And so this was Majerus' way of giving the kid run by constantly bringing him up in the post-game press conference that he would do, and a little meeting with the media in the squad room. And I say, oh, okay, I got it now. I understand. He's got to massage the dad. Right. I get how this thing works, but it was confusing to me. But then I understood why Rick did what he did.
He's a good player, but now you're getting a lottery pick, another lottery pick, another lottery pick.
Right.
You're like, well, he's not getting the run. Everybody's talking about the lottery picks.
Right. But this was a good player.
Yeah, I mean, he's just in that 80%.
Right, and the dad wanted to hear his name mentioned in the media, so he started
I'm
mentioning his name.
I'm going to tell you guys
more.
a funny story about. It's actually one of the best stories I've heard about parents the whole time I was in coaching. But I'm not going to use the name. But this is somebody that was a college head coach, and they had a kid come in on a visit. And when a kid comes in on a visit, one of the things you do, you get them with your guys as much as possible. Oftentimes they'll play, they'll play pickup and you'll have your recruit in there. I think one of the biggest farces ever was that coaches weren't able to watch, which I'm sure never went on. But in this instance, I guess, they went and worked. They went and did the open gym and then showered up and went to eat. So this is like day one of the trip, first afternoon, first evening. So they played, went to get something to eat, and they're at the table. And Coach said, so what'd you think? What'd you think of the guys? Think of the team? And instantly, the dad went into this diatribe that, they looked his son off, and that wouldn't include him. They wouldn't throw it to him. And, just instantly, like 20 minutes, just a victimhood. And so Coach finally, the waiter came out and said, yeah, what can we get you guys? And he's like, well, I know we haven't ordered anything yet, but can I just pay for the reservation? We're done here. And he stood up, pushed the chair out, and said, your kid ain't gonna function well in this. You just spent 20 minutes talking to me about why it didn't work and why he wasn't included in the first 30 minutes. And he's like, I don't got time for this. And so he basically said, the visit's over. Enjoy your time here and make sure you get your flight so we don't get charged. And that was the last they saw the kid. And I loved it. I mean, you don't know the number of times I wanted to do something like that, but certainly couldn't. But parents need to take a major step back in the game, man.
Tim, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us. You're the man.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Tim LaComb, Jazz radio studio analyst. You'll hear him on the game tonight. Jazz pre, half, and post with Jake. It starts at 6 with the pregame and tip-off at 7. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. A lot of you want to name the new hockey team. We're going to get to that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We don't know when the hockey team's going to get here, but it's going to have a name ready and ready to go when it happens. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Stevenson Sylvester in the house.
I've loved hockey ever since Happy Gilmore. I'm a big Happy. Because in my household growing up, we watched movies over and over and over again. Right? And so the opening part of Happy Gilmore, where he's just
unbelievable, yes.
When he gets into the batting cages, and he's like, Chubbs is like, what are you doing? Only 364 more days till next hockey tryout. Got to toughen up. I've loved hockey since then.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. PK, were you out looking at the solar eclipse yesterday?
I did not, no. I'm not into astrology.
I don't think that's astrology. But I get your point.
What are you talking about?
Not into the eclipse.
No. Some people are, man.
Yeah, there were people. I showed you that photo earlier today. The traffic leaving New England of the people overnight just stuck. Too many people, not enough roads out. Huge traffic jams. Jason says that eclipse, that's about as exciting as a Jazz game.
Ooh.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
David, meh, too cloudy. It was cloudy here yesterday. Greg gave it a big old ho-hum. I don't think our listeners were that into it. Not happening.
I know someone, and I told you about him.
Yep.
They recently retired. He's a younger guy. He and his wife went to Texas. They live here.
They flew to Texas so they could see the eclipse.
Yes. I think they flew Sunday and are coming back today.
I saw some videos on social media that was good enough. I think the best one I saw was the one that somebody was on a plane flying and shot the eclipse out the window. That was different.
Well, what else would you be doing if you're on a plane?
Taking a nap and missing the whole thing.
Well, I mean, you had the Mile High thing you told me about.
Hey-o! You set that up very nicely. Trained professional.
Shut up and dance with me. But for people who are into it, way to go. It's just not me. I mean, it happens 2-3 times a year. What's the big deal?
Wide swath of the United States had a chance to see that.
Wide swath? Mm-hmm. Sounds like you at the buffet line.
Got a wide swath through that pineapple chicken. Tasty. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, Yak has made it happen. We've got the new, well, it's new, but it's old. Everything old is new again, PK. The open mic feature on our app is working. After
it'll all be new at some point?
After Yak converts it and edits it and wishes he had an intern here. If you're looking for an internship opportunity, Yak is hiring. Meet him here at 6 a.m. He's got something for you. Maybe 7. All right, we'll have that coming up. We got a lot of you who want to name the hockey team whenever it comes to town. You're ready to go. And if you missed it, the mayor of Scottsdale getting into it with Phoenix over the latest arena proposal. It's still a long ways away, but the mayor of Scottsdale wasn't waiting. We'll get to that coming up. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
The new NHL team should be the Yetis, the Salt Lake Yetis or the Utah Yetis.
There's John using the open mic feature on our app. You want to send in your suggestions, new nicknames for the hockey team. We are hearing a lot of people say Yeti. They want it to be the Yetis.
Why should it be the Yetis? Why? What's the overriding reason?
They're not giving us reasons. I assume because we have a lot of mountains and there's a lot of backcountry and it's mysterious and goofy and people like it.
And Ryan Smith, when he made one of his appearances on the Pat McAfee show, had referred to calling it the Utah Yetis in passing as well. I think that might play into it.
No, well.
So he prompted him.
If he owns the friggin' team, he can get the name in whatever he wants.
He can. Abominable sounds better than Yeti, Curtis says.
Isn't snowman?
Apparently.
Well, then, yeah, but then if they suck, they'll be an abomination.
Exactly. You're handing people a hockey stick with which to beat you over the head.
And I don't want to be beat over the head with a hockey stick.
Caden says, I want it to be the Raptors, although I don't know if that's realistic.
Hi, Toronto wants a word.
Yeah, the Raptors, I mean, that really is associated with Toronto NBA, isn't it?
It really is. They got a couple decades head start on it.
Yeah.
Darius says the Utah Screaming Eagles. See, that touches on the Eagles like the Golden Eagles, but he says the Screaming Eagles are the 101st Airborne that landed on Utah Beach on D-Day.
We already had a Screaming Eagles here. If you remember that indoor football team, that was like the fan-controlled
Was it?
one.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. I remember talking about that. Yeah.
But yeah, the fact they landed on Utah Beach, I guess in D-Day would work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Connor says Utah Cutthroats is the only name we need. He's not the first person to suggest that. But although it's also a fish, it comes up with some violent R-rated movie imagery that people might want to stay away from. Violence and attacking and all that stuff. And then somebody will get hit and checked, and you see the guy when he got flipped over and cut the goalie with the skate. That was nasty.
So you would say not to name them the Chainsaw Massacres?
So over the top.
Yeah. But that's where you got to be if you want to stand out.
And then the sound effect when they score. The chainsaw starts.
Yeah.
And it's real loud, and Phil Jackson has to put the plugs in his ears. It's perfect.
The Massacre?
Brian at True Blue BYU. Utah Yeti is, all caps, the correct answer. It's cool and unique. And he sends us the abominable snowman from the TV show 50 years ago, the stop animation thing.
Yeah.
Too goofy. No.
I mean, you sort of think of Yeti in an extent with like Bigfoot or something.
Yep. Cameron on the open mic.
I think a great name would be the Utah Jackalopes.
The Utah Jackalopes. Not a real thing. It's like a snipe hunt.
It doesn't have to be real.
It doesn't have to be.
What are we playing off of?
You ever heard about a jackalope? A hare that's got the antlers of a deer?
I didn't know if he was
It's
something else.
It's a made-up animal, and send people out to look at the jackalopes under the full moon, and
Or
basically
go hunt your snipes.
Yeah, go hunt your snipes. You basically send them on a wild goose chase and laugh at them while you sit back at the old campfire on the porch or whatever. Yeah, go find the jackalope that doesn't exist. You'll never find it.
How about the skunks?
No, because then the skunks stink when they lose 3 in a row. No, you're not going to set people up like that. Bassman Pros wants to go with the Blizzard. The Utah Blizzard.
The Blizz?
Wintertime weather, hockey, ice hockey, it's perfect. It all lines up, Bassman Pros thinks.
Okay, not bad. But they'll call them the Blizz. Do we want to go with the double Z's, or are we over that?
I'm over it. I don't know if everybody else is. Tyler wants to call them the Utah Tropics. We're not in the tropics. You like the Will Ferrell movie, the Miami Tropics?
Hey, there is Tropic Utah.
There is. I've actually been there.
I think of like islands and stuff.
Down by,
I know.
Down by Bryce Canyon.
And I like thinking of islands and stuff. The Trops?
No matter what the name is, you're going to try out the nickname, right? Because inevitably people are going to drop syllables and make it shorter and make it easier to say. Everybody does that all the time.
Right. The Pods.
I was about to say, in San Diego, they call the Padres the Pods.
Yeah.
And at UC Santa Barbara, everything got shortened to initials. Isla Vista was was IV. Francisco Torres was FT. It was just nonstop.
The Chos?
The Chos? They do say that, yes.
Well, because they call them the Yotes.
Everything gets shortened. Utah Yeti would be amazing, Alan says.
Okay, is Yeti plural, though?
Jonah and John
Yetis?
sent it in with Yetis. Yetis. I don't know. Is that a word that doesn't need?
Yeah.
See, Alan doesn't add the S. I think that's a word that can be plural without adding the S.
Yeah, Yeti is plural on its own, like Sasquatch or moose or
So
the mooses.
Right.
The meese.
Moosei.
The meese. Goose, geese, moose, meese.
Cacti. Cactus. So
Cactuses.
Nobody says cactuses.
Nobody says cactuses.
Yeah.
I was the first. Josh wants them to be the Utah Moguls. Little double meaning there. The owner's a mogul, and then you got the skiing moguls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sell the skiing.
How about the Black Diamonds?
Ooh.
If we're going to go the literal slopes themselves. I still like slopes.
Slopes is good. How would it be shortened?
It can't. It is. It stands on its own, right? And I think that, you can really tie it in, and it'd be a boon for tourists.
Ryan has wanted to leverage sports into, changing Utah's brand across the country and around the world. So why not go with something like
Changing Utah's brand.
Yes.
What is their brand?
I don't know.
Why are you constantly trying to change their brand?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what he wants to do.
A lot of people here are happy with the brand.
He wants to leverage, maybe changing the brand isn't the right expression, leverage it to have more people know about Utah and do business with Utah.
Improve awareness.
Okay, I don't know if that's any different than changing the brand. But
Sure it is.
Okay.
Changing the brand means the brand is wrong.
People don't like us. Change it. Have people like us.
Well, then we can call them the F-offs. You don't like us? Here's what you can do. Fetch off.
All one word. All
Fetch
caps.
offs.
Also all caps.
Yeah. Or how about the teetotalers?
I think that reinforces the brand.
Right. And that's what I want.
Okay.
That's why I moved here.
Then go with Utah Saints. Reinforce the brand.
But a lot of people wouldn't get that, though, because you got the New Orleans Saints. Nobody thinks of that down there.
And New Orleans already lost the Jazz to Utah. They are not about to give up the Saints to Utah.
No.
Yeah, it seemed like Utah's picking on New Orleans at that point, doesn't it?
They're pitching a fight right there. They're fixing to mix it up. I like the brand just the way it is. I love this community just the way you are, people.
Sing it.
And I love you. And DJ wants you to change. I don't. I'm quite content with the way you behave and live your lives. I admire you all.
Jonathan says the Salt Lake taxpayers. I think Jonathan may not be excited about government money going to help with arenas and stadiums.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty unique to Utah.
Cutting edge. Hasn't occurred to anybody except the Buffalo Bills, who got, I don't know, was it $600 or $700 or $800 million? They got
ask Vegas. Come on, Allegiant Stadium had a $700 million.
Oh, did it?
Go ask Vegas.
Ask Vegas.
Go right now. Hello, Vegas. I got a question for you.
Las Vegas? Anybody home?
Granny, can we talk to you?
River of Tears wants to nickname it Tanking Jazz.
The Tanks?
The Tanks. Tanks for nothing.
We'll roll you over. You get your tanks for nothing and your chicks for free?
Tanks came out blazing. Rhino says Sasquatch, Golden Eagles, or Moose.
The Moose, huh?
The Moose is on the loose.
Okay. I can live with Moose. And they come out. It sounds like they're booing, but they're just saying. Then the ex-players got to say they're not booing. They're saying Moose.
Moose. There are so many people who are saying Golden Eagles. Sid, David, Jason, bring back the Golden Eagles with a modern logo.
I wonder why they're so committed to that.
Longtime hockey fans would be the easiest guess.
I don't like the two words, though. Seems like it's too long. Because then they just call you the Eagles. Nobody calls them the Golden Knights. It's Knights.
Well, then you're not going to like this one.
What?
John wants to call them the Salt Lake Rainbow Whales.
What? John.
Is that because of the
Yes,
whale?
9th and 9th, the big well that's in that roundabout.
Yeah.
That's too parochial.
Yeah. David says call him the not going to happens. He gave it 4 Z's.
How about the Peaks?
It's not bad. It's one syllable, so it won't get shortened.
Right.
Play straight into the mountains.
Right.
Gives them a theme.
Yeah. A theme.
All right, should we put the best ones up in a poll question here and let people pick the top 4?
I love when you put up poll questions.
I think you don't.
I do too.
Okay, Yeti. I put Yeti up. That
I'm
has to
dead
be
serious.
up there. All right. And
I think you should have a poll question a day.
Slopes. We used to. You got away from that. We can go back to it.
I'm totally fine with poll
You want
questions.
Yeti, slopes, and peaks, and what else? Other, and let people
respond.
And let people add whatever they want.
The others?
I'm not going to name them the others. It'll be up at David DJ James here in a minute.
Even though I don't like two names, I do like. I'm warming up to Black Diamonds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Should I go with peaks or should I go with moguls? Or I think Yeti and slopes have gotten enough reaction. They need to be up there. You want something other than peaks?
Well, if you put ski related, they'll think, boy, that's a dumb name to name somebody the ski related.
The Utah ski related.
I don't know, whatever you think.
Probably put the moose in there if you wanted to. Seems like it's gotten a fair amount of response.
Just do like, I know you can only have, 4 options?
Yeah,
We'll do
correct.
like 5, so you got 20.
Just keep throwing polls up there. We'll do 4, and then the 4 winners will go into a playoff.
We'll
have our own bracket.
Yeah, finally, we got something that we can have.
The Victim Radio with DJ and PK.
Yeah. Come on.
All right, well, I'm not going to make slopes a 2 seed then. It's going in its own bracket here.
What?
Yeti's in this one. We're not putting Yeti and slopes in the same one.
You're not?
Nope. We got Yeti. We got Golden Eagles.
Why aren't you putting Yeti and slopes as two
Because I'm
different
putting
things?
slopes in another one. We're having quarterfinals here. We got a bracket going now.
Brine Shrimp's got to go in here now.
Brine
Moose.
Shrimp. Oh, we're going to give the Brine Shrimp this one.
Who's Brian Shrimp?
Yes, who's Brine Shrimp? Yes.
It's Melissa Shrimp's kid. You know
Okay.
Melissa, yeah.
About the Utah Saltaires to play with the Great Salt Lake.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Right now, we got to give away a golfer. The contest continues. The Uinta Golf Masters giveaway. Be caller 12 right now at 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer in the Masters field, and if your assigned golfer wins, you'll win the same brand of driver that plays from the Uinta Golf. Simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971. Who was the last golfer you gave out? I know you can't tell us who's coming up, and it's all randomized in that, but you can't tell us who just
We gave away Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, Scotty Scheffler went with the last one, huh? The favorite. All right, call now. Be caller 12 right now. DJ and PK. The number. He can't remember. 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 right now. Good luck.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Sam Merrill joining us, former Aggie, now Cleveland Cavalier. How weird was it playing in that arena against the Jazz, a team that you grew up as a fan of? What were the emotions like for you?
It was quite the experience, to be honest. Played in that arena, obviously, a few times in college, but there's a big difference between a college game and an NBA game, obviously. And there was a lot going on, a lot of friends, a lot of family, like you said. You know, being out there for warm-ups and the national anthem and stuff, it was a pretty surreal moment. The Jazz are a big part of every kid's youth in Utah. So to be on that floor playing in an NBA game, it was a really fun experience and something that I definitely am not taking for granted.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It is time to get you up to date on everything we've talked about in today's show. Brought to you by Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley. Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown in Sandy. Brian Taylor joined us to talk Augusta National and the Masters.
When's that start?
Thursday.
Okay. All right.
Thunderstorms Thursday, so it may not be much of a start Thursday, but then I think the weather's supposed to get better.
Cool.
Your takeaway from talking to Brian?
Play ball. It's time.
You were wondering about an off-season trip to the Masters, and he says the property is pretty much locked up, complete with a gate across the driveway and a green screen. You can't even see in. Can't even take a picture down Magnolia Lane. So if you're going to go, you need to go when the tourney's on and get a ticket.
Oh, I'm going to bring a ladder.
I bet they have security guards and cameras for people like you.
Why? Why do they have to shut it down like it's the Taj Mahal or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, isn't it a national treasure? Shouldn't people be allowed to check it out?
I was surprised when he said that there were no tours because places, like you said, national treasures like Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, you can go there in the off season, you can take a tour. You know, you pay your whatever and maybe you walk the course.
Yeah. I took my parents to Wrigley Field in November. And it wasn't open, but you can walk around, and then there's some area where you can sort of look in and see the field, and then down right field line, they had a gift shop. And it was when BYU was playing Notre Dame, and it was the Friday before. And I took my parents there, and we went, and a bunch of BYU fans were in there doing the same thing. So they were saying, hey, PK, hey, blah, blah. My mother says, who are these people? I said, I don't know. Well, how come they know you? I said, well, and it was when I was still working for the newspaper, so I was just barely in the radio and gaining a little bit of a following. And I said, well, they listen to me and stuff, so they know. Oh, but you don't know them? I said, no. I mean, I know they're BYU fans. And we're in the gift shop. My father's name, same name as mine. She yells across, hey, Pat! My father, what? Look at all these people. They know your kid, but he don't know them. Yeah? Yeah. And then she looks at him, she says, ain't that the bleeps?
Thanks, Ma. You're helping.
Oh, my gosh. But the idea being that the gift shop was open year-round, whether the Cubs were in town or whatever. I'm surprised the Masters has to lock it up like that. I mean, it's not the Holy Land. It's a golf course.
I think you pay your $20 or $50, but it's the Masters, so I figured they'll jack up the price. And then they put you in a golf course and just drive you around. How much damage are you going to do to the course just driving around the golf course?
It's closed all summer anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems silly.
I mean, does Augusta have cart paths? Is that a ridiculous question? You would think they would. There's just going to be so much traffic, right?
Well, for the members who play it,
yeah. Keep people in one area and don't beat up the course.
Well, you can do cart paths. Yeah, like you go to the Hearst Castle, and you take the tour. It's all electric, man. You step an inch off, it starts beeping.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Oh, yeah, I've done it. Yeah. I mean, if you just a half an inch, because it's all roped off like a golf course would be. Like it's basically a cart path, but it's not. And so you stay on there and you walk through it. And it's all
you don't get to meander through Hearst Castle.
No, and if you just move an inch off the line,
beep.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is probably the biggest tourist attraction in California that I've never done. Having lived at both ends of the state.
Yeah.
I've done most of the stuff there.
Yeah, I did it. It's cool. No.
Scheffler's the favorite. But Scheffler versus the field, you still got to go the field because it's golf and it's unpredictable. We'll have our draft with Bob Casper tomorrow when he joins us.
Well, if you look at it, I just saw a big thing on stats on the Masters. 18 of the last 18 winners were not the betting favorites.
Favorites, plural? Or just the
it's
favorite?
Plural because it's...
Sometimes it's tied.
No.
Oh, because it's 18 over 18
yeah.
years. Yeah. So whoever had the best odds has yet to win it.
Well, not yet.
In the last 18.
Yeah.
So that'd be 19 years ago. Who was it? Was it a Tiger win in 2000, whatever that'd be, 6? That's bad math, but 5. He realizes even numbers.
Yeah. And 44 of the last 44 winners had played the Masters at least once. So any player who has not played it.
If you're in your first trip to the Masters, you aren't winning. There's too much nuance in the course for you to go out there and win.
Yeah, and 56 of the last 59 winners did not win the year before. So, but Scheffler's on top of his game. There's no doubt about it.
No, Bob will have the first pick. We'll see what he does tomorrow when we do the draft. And what unusual category are we going to have? We've been adding categories to our 3-round draft. I guess it's Bob's turn to add one. Just see what he wants to add.
I think we should have a point system.
So there is a winner.
And then there's a FedEx winner, too.
Now it's getting complicated.
So you got the individual weekly.
We're tracking it throughout the season.
But then you got the 4. So you get points based on finish.
Got an annual champ.
Yeah. And I like to come up with the golfer that you two have never even heard of, and then he wins, a la Fitzpatrick. That's so sweet.
You got somebody yet? You got your unknown?
I do.
Is it somebody who's played Augusta before now that you know that stat? Because you could be relatively unknown but still have played the tournament once or twice.
I don't know if he has.
Oh, okay. Well, you can research that in the next 24 hours.
But I'm going to take him either way.
Okay.
Because that's 18 of the last 18, or 44 of the last 44 have never played. That doesn't mean that it's never been done. This just makes it all the sweeter.
We talk college hoops with Tim LaComb. You can listen to Brian and Tim wherever you get your podcast. The whole show, wherever you get your podcast, the entire show is posted. You can listen at your convenience. Yak makes sure that happens each and every day. And we spent a little time talking about the national title game. UConn, just a grinding, dominant performance. They never dropped a big run on Purdue, 20-2 or something like that. But, man, it was just so hard for Purdue to score, and it was almost impossible for anyone other than Zach Baked Edey to score. He went for 37, but nobody else could get it going, and they finished with 60 points. And when you can hold teams to 60 points, your win percentage goes through the roof.
It sort of sounds like, I don't know, you can't really say it, but it was like a shallow 37.
A not impactful 37.
I mean, that's no knock against him.
Right.
I mean, he can't score for the other
But he went for 37, and it never changed the momentum of the game because UConn was always in control of the game.
Yeah, the second half it was always like 12-14.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
In the first half, it was like 4-9.
Baked would score. They went on a little bit of a run right towards the end of the first half to build it up to 6, and then they came out and started the second half well, and then it was like, all right, I know what's going to happen here.
There was you never felt like, I bet Purdue's going to get hot and get back in this.
Right.
Purdue's got a run in them. Nope.
Yeah.
Not the way UConn defends.
And good for them.
And Duke and UConn are the early favorites at the sportsbooks online. FanDuel has them established as the favorites to win it next year, although we still have more coaching changes to go. Because Alabama's Nate Oates said he is staying with the Crimson Tide. So Kentucky has to find somebody else. And whoever Kentucky finds will probably create yet another opening. And then the transfer portal follows that, and away we go. So we're a long way from set. So you don't think
they'll hire an up-and-comer from the
up-and-coming assistant coach
from the Summit League?
Well, that would create an opening. I suspect it'll be someone a little more high-profile than the Summit League.
I really wish they would have gotten Oates, and they could have played up the fact that they had Joby Hall, and now they have Hall and Oates.
Hall and Oates, that's not happening. But you got to sing during the show yesterday, so that was a win for you.
I think that would, and our listeners.
That was a win for you.
And our listeners. And put it out there. Put out a poll. If they don't want me to sing, I won't do it. I don't know if we've ever broached that.
Several thousand times.
Nope, we have not.
Right. And Yak's younger. He's got a better memory.
It's an original idea. We've never done this before.
See? Right.
The problem with Yak is he's a born liar.
And born liar? What is it, the 4th of July here?
I thought you were going to go with I did the born liar so you could say the convicted liar. A couple of liars. One's born, the other's convicted.
Who said that?
George Steinbrenner.
No. That was Reggie said.
Oh, Reggie said that about
Billy Martin and George
Steinbrenner. That's what it was. You're right. Yeah. One's a born liar. The other one's convicted. Bang, Reggie for the win.
But then no. It was Winfield he called Mr. May, not
right.
Yeah. Take off on Mr. October for Reggie.
We talked a little baseball this morning. Shohei Ohtani, here he goes. 3 homers in 5 games now. A little distracted the first week. Where's the investigation going? Have we heard anything about that, or has that gotten all quiet all of a sudden? Have I missed anything?
Well,
I haven't heard anything.
This guy's a proven player. You can bet he's going to come along.
Hey-o.
Yeah. And I am betting.
Dodgers beat the Twins 4-2 as Shohei went deep. Again.
Talk to my interpreter.
See what you did there.
And Mike Trout had a home run and a triple, and it's the 14th career game in which he's had a home run and a triple.
That's amazing.
Which is a franchise best.
I bet it is. How does it rank among major leaguers? There can't be that many guys who've had combo 14 triples and home runs.
In the same game?
14 times in your career. You've done that in the same game? That's got to be a short list.
I don't know.
If you come out with a list of like 50 people, I will be stunned.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that'll give me something to do during the break. I've been really bored during the break today. So
He's got 5 home runs this year. He's off to a hot start. Let's hope he stays healthy.
Nice.
Because that's been the issue.
See what kind of year. It'd be weird if after losing Shohei, they finally put together a good year there. He's healthy and they're good.
Mike Trout might be the prettiest right-handed swing I've ever seen. Because normally when I think of beautiful swings, I think of lefties.
There is something about the lefty.
Yeah. Right. But you look at Trout, it's so quick to the ball, and every ounce of him is a muscle.
Right? No fat, no bone, no gristle.
Doesn't it seem like it, man? He's just jacked.
There's no cartilage. He has no nose.
But he's like not over jacked. No one's going to accuse him of anything.
His ears have muscles.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a cartoon.
Right. I mean, he looks the same all these years, and he's just an amazing talent. And he's from Jersey.
Jazz in Denver tonight. Do we have anything to say about that? There's 4 games left, 2 home games. This is one of them.
And then after tonight, it'll only be 3.
Yay. Let's get to the draft or off-season trades or free agency. Remake the team.
Well, I always thought this last week, no matter who it was sort of a downer. Like, you come off the NCAA tournament, and I always thought the NBA should figure out, even if they have the shortened games, which I know they wouldn't do because it reduced revenue, but they should start.
They've tightened it up, though. We used to have 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and now we got 6 days, 4 of which are the Masters, and then boom into the playing games into the playoffs.
I know, but I think the playoffs should start Friday. College season ends Monday. NBA season playoffs.
I get why you say that, but American commerce being what it is, I just don't see them starting the playoffs when the Masters is going on.
I think there's enough room.
They've tightened things up.
Especially those first rounds when a lot of times you're letting in teams that don't even have a winning record. First round can be a snoozer.
It can be. Watch the 4-5 series and expect the other ones to be lopsided.
Yeah. I mean,
the Celtics ought to destroy whoever they play.
Yeah.
I mean, the gap in the East, at least in the West, they're still, pretty good, pretty representative teams. And in some cases, we'll have to see how it shakes out, but they may even be teams with playoff experience.
Right. It's not always.
Right. But in the East this year.
Okay, then start on Monday. 1 week later.
Boston, Miami, I guess, or Boston, Philly. That could be intriguing. Man, if Chicago or Atlanta gets in there, though, it's a new city.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they haven't hired a coach, Kentucky. That really would mean to me that our guy, Billy Donovan, is...
They're waiting on Donovan?
Yeah. And certainly I think he would be an excellent choice.
Got a little bit of a track record?
Yeah.
Catches your eye?
Yeah. And you can control winning. Maybe it's different now, but certainly when he won, he can control it, as opposed to what's going on into the pros. I mean, you look at Rick Pitino, didn't have much of a run with the Celtics, wasn't bad with the Knicks, but, it goes back to the colleges and then wins big time.
Donovan's been out of the college game since 2015.
Right. I would have thought longer than that.
I would have, too. That's why I looked it up. And he was at Kentucky as an assistant, 89 to 94. Mm-hmm. He's got the ties.
Yeah.
So if it all goes quiet in Lexington, we know why.
Right.
They're waiting for their guy. When do they get knocked out? How long do the Bulls stay in?
I don't think that there's a one and only. I think there's several folks who could do a good job. And I do think they should talk to Mark Pope. And it isn't necessarily for this opening. Because guys don't stay that long, and you never know. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't.
So use this opportunity to get to know somebody.
Yeah, right.
Donovan's 58, though. You could be hiring him for a 8, 10, 15-year stretch.
You could. No question about it. Yeah, I mean, it's not related to age. It's just they tend to move.
Right.
It has nothing to do with age. I mean, Kentucky's hiring, Arkansas is hiring a 65-year-old Calipari. Fine. So be it.
Yahoo has a story about Calipari moving, and in it they reference a Billy Tubbs theory that college coaches should change jobs every 7 or 8 years because after that time you don't make friends at a school, just enemies. So you got to hit reset and freshen it up.
Yeah, and, Mark Pope, there's some folks, he has detractors, but I just wonder, you're in a high-pressure situation.
Uh-huh.
You've got to win. It's just a fact of life. You can be the nicest dude in the world, but if you don't win, tough. And then that just causes pressure. And so I can talk to people. One guy jumps at me in particular who's employed by BYU.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want dirt on Pope, I just got to call this guy. Seriously, he'll give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever there is negative out there in the universe, he's got it.
Right. But I always take it with a grain of salt because these are not normal jobs.
Everybody's going to have their detractors.
Yeah.
Calipari had his, despite all his success. He's there 15 years. The first 10, he wins a title and goes to 4 Final Fours. The last 5, I think he's won 1 tourney game.
Well, they had the COVID season.
So 4,
so nobody,
but still 1 tournament win in 4 years.
Yeah.
Losing to
they haven't
Oakland.
gotten to the Sweet 16
in
6 years, I think. And that's just unacceptable. So it's a give and take. You're going to have a great job, but the expectations are through the roof.
Right. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback is next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
I think we should be called the Utah Construction Cones.
I like it. We got a new winner. I feel bad I put up 4 poll questions and didn't include that.
The CZs?
The construction cones.
Oh, cones.
Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Caller 12 right now. 801-575-ZONE wins a pair of tickets to see the Jazz play Houston Thursday night. 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 right now. You want to go construction zones or construction cones? Either way. I mean, I like
cones or zones. I thought he said zones.
I don't know what I thought he said cones, but Yak was getting ready to talk to me about something. We messed up, so.
The cones.
Heavy T says he wants them named the new NHL team when it comes to town, the Pyramid Schemers. If you missed it, Ryan Smith sent out a thing, and you can enter the name officially and send it to him, complete with your email. So you probably get stuff about buying tickets down the line, or jerseys, or T-shirts, or caps.
You marketer.
I'm not the one who asked for everybody's email. I clicked on it. I was like,
I know, but I didn't even dawn on that.
Oh, really?
Dawn on me. I don't have the business mind that you do.
Okay. BYU to NFL at BYU Utah fan. I want the new NHL team named Jazz on Ice.
Disney?
Yes. So then the baseball team would be Jazz on Grass?
Oh.
And NFL now too dangerous. Too many jokes, right?
Yeah.
What are these guys smoking? Stacy says Moose and Screaming Eagles sound the best when you yell it like an announcer. Try it on the radio. Moose with a long, drawn-out bass vibe. Screaming Eagles with the emphasis on the first syllable of each. The others, like Peak and Slopes, just don't cut it.
You could end up being their radio guy.
Go Screaming Eagles!
Yeah. I mean, your desire to get out of the office, I mean...
The Moose is on the loose!
You could be doing that.
Seems unlikely, but... I did grow up listening to people scream Andre Lacroix.
You went to a hockey game once, and you just saw there was tens of thousands of people.
I saw the vision.
And thought, I can increase my popularity out of this.
It's more my job. It's more my job.
Your job is to increase your popularity. I understand. I agree with you.
To cover the things that people care about.
And to continue to be full of crap.
I've got the 4-part question up. So it's like our own bracket. Each one of these bracket winners will advance to the nickname finals in tomorrow's poll question. Are you ready?
Is this sponsored?
Not yet.
What do you mean tomorrow, man? We need to drag this puppy out.
Bracket 1, Yeti with the lead with 58% of the vote. Moose and Brine Shrimp aren't going to get it done. Bracket 2, very close between Coyotes and Slopes. Stampede and Bears are a little bit up the track. Coyotes with 35%, Slopes with 32%. Anything could happen. Bracket 3, Golden Eagles dominating the Eagles, the Grizzlies, and the Stags.
So what will we have here? This is the quarters, or what? Is tomorrow the semis?
I was going to.
What are you
well,
doing?
if you want to draw it out, we could take the top 2 out of each bracket. But I was going to just take the top 1 and have a finals tomorrow.
No, man. Friday. We will unveil the winner Friday.
And I'm the one with the marketing.
I expect a meeting with the marketers right after the show.
Oh, man.
In fact, I not expect. I demand.
Demand.
Yeah.
Sasquatch leading the Cutthroats 40-34. It's very tight. Saints and Miners not doing so well.
But you didn't stack it and created a pool, so you're like in the bracket. So the 4th seed. Well, yeah, in that particular bracket, that's unfair.
So I've got to come there. I didn't realize when I had already posted the first one that I needed to separate out the best names.
Right.
The Golden Eagles got stuck in with the Yeti, and I realized that's just bad seating on the S curve.
Oh, so that's why you're going with 2.
And so Golden Eagles got in a second one later on where they could be the heavyweight.
I also think a way around it, if you receive a certain percentage.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. Right. Anybody who gets to say 20% advances.
Yeah, right.
I like it. That'll help us draw it out.
Yeah.
And you know what? We could even put in some wildcard berths in case someone goes to – I've got this up on my Twitter feed, David DJ James.
Man, I'm looking forward to June 1st when we announce the winner.
90 nicknames in 90 days. It's our 90 and 90. All right, we're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up next. Stay with us.